Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. And it's good to be back, guys. I was off for the weekend in Anaheim, went to D23, saw some very exciting things, saw some rather underwhelming things. We'll talk about all that stuff here in just a bit. But joining me here to talk about such things, writer, editor, director, producer, creator, and a friend to all the woodland creatures, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett.
You know, the woodland creatures have been pouring out of the Amazon. John, they're not happy. Not happy.
Not happy. Not happy at all. And also joining us, one of those woodland creatures morphed into human form is, of course, Chris Carr. Chris, how you doing?
I'm great. That's probably the best description anyone's ever done of me. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, by the way, what is it, Chrysonica?
Chrysonica!
How's
It's
Chrysonica
been going
going?
so well. It's been really, really fun. Last night I got martinis and I got to watch a whole bunch of different house shows that I like. Logan was a really nice husband. I just watched HGTV and drank. It was great.
How long does it stay lit for?
So it stays
Yes,
lit
the
for
age of
8
lit.
days. So it's 8 days
lit.
a night. But we kind of are rescheduling a little bit. We decided to move it to making it the last day of D23 because I also got a whole bunch of car trouble on one of the first days of Chrysonica.
Oh, that's right,
And spending like $1,000 on your car is not a great way to kick off birthday week.
Not
so
a happy birthday.
We're shifting the days. And we got to have dinner with you and Ann, and that was a great
That's
way to
right.
celebrate.
We did have
That was really
dinner
fun.
at downtown Disney, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And listen, guys, we do have a lot of things that we need to talk about here today. We're going to be talking more about the Spider-Man situation. Tom Holland's made some interesting comments. Kevin Feige's made some interesting comments. Obviously, we got to talk about the Rey and the red lightsaber, that kind of stuff. We're going to get into that. Disney Plus has now announced how they're going to release their shows. We've been discussing, will they be bingeable? Will they be week by week? We're going to talk about that in just a second. Nathan Fillion has joined the DCEU, that and more, but we're going to start things off with this. You know, one of the things that they talked about at D23 was WandaVision. No big surprise. They had already talked about WandaVision at Comic-Con, but they decided to talk about WandaVision a little bit more. And a couple of things that they revealed about WandaVision that I was actually quite excited about. Number one, Kat Dennings is joining the show, which I actually thought was great. I know some people do not like the Kat Dennings character. I find her adorable. So I like Kat Dennings. I was excited to hear about that. I was also excited to hear that Asian Jim Randall Park is reprising his role from Ant-Man 2, and he's going to be in WandaVision as well. I was excited to hear about that. But one of the more interesting things that they said about WandaVision was that it was going to be half sitcom, half epic Marvel. And during their presentation for it, they played like a bunch of Dick Van Dyke Show footage. And it's like, this is going to kind of be the feel. And, Elizabeth Olsen came out and said, it's going to be wacky and crazy and all that kind of stuff. It's like, really? But anyway, furthering all that sort of stuff, they've just put out a new image, what they're calling a promotional poster for WandaVision. And it kind of feeds into that. It is wacky. Now, of course, they're doing the whole... The Force, or not The Force Awakens, but Phantom Menace thing where you've got the characters in the front with their shadow silhouette in the background showing who and what they really are. You got that red glow coming from the television, the very, 60s style sitcom kind of feel coming from it, which just only kind of adds into what they were talking about at D23 about all this. Rob, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this sort of a approach, if you will, about it, the sitcom thing, alternate reality. I know some House of M stuff has been mentioned here, but anyway, Rob, you're hearing about all this from D23, but you're adding on top of that now this new image. What's going through your head? What are you thinking about?
I think this looks great. I think it's going to be very odd. Remember, we haven't seen Vision since he's been killed. Or he had the Infinity Stone plucked,
by the way.
Plucked from his head. And, of course, Wanda suffered from the blip, and she comes back. I think we're going to see what is the fallout, because we've seen the idea that, everybody's happy about coming back after being snapped away for 5 years. I mean, Wanda Maximoff, remember, has never been totally really right in the head since her brother died, at least in the MCU. And then after her experience of that, when she comes back, finding out when she's unsnapped, finding out Vision is still gone or wherever Vision is. And I think maybe this is some kind of an extended form of therapy for the two of them trying to have domestic bliss. It harks back to the Vision and Scarlet Witch comics. And then, of course, they've said this show leads directly in to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which leads me to believe that WandaVision is not necessarily going to end well. It's going to end in perhaps a state of chaos or something even worse. Whether it leads to House of M, I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm really excited because this does seem crazy, bonkers, weird. And if we get a cross between Legion meets the MCU, meets the House of M, and you're dealing with the fact that could be, mentally at least, the most powerful being in the MCU now, at least in terms of what her mental powers, her reality warping powers are capable of. This could be some awesomeness.
And don't forget the wacky 60s sitcom element to it as well.
I mean, that's right out of a Twilight Zone episode. Like, let's try it. It's a good life. It's a very good life. Now get into the cornfield. This could be some crazy stuff, John.
Chris, you heard about all this stuff, but now you're seeing the image as well. What kind of thoughts and ideas are going through your head?
Oh, I'm so excited. Like Rob touched on, manipulation powers, which we haven't really seen from Scarlet Witch in the series.
Yeah, mostly as of right now, that's not really part of her power set in the MCU
She's got,
yet.
know, energy bursts that can throw things, and she can move stuff. It seems like telekinesis sometimes. It seems like other things. So I'm really excited to get back to her roots of actual reality manipulation, because House of M is one of the craziest, most bonkers comics in the world. So if we get more of that in this, with a lot of that Dick Van Dyke flair, oh, it's going to be such a fun show.
Again, I was so taken aback during the presentation when they were showing Dick Van Dyke footage with Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore and doing their wacky stuff, and they said that's going to be WandaVision. It's like, all right. Oh, and on top, I mentioned Randall Park and Kat Dennings. One of my favorite announcements about it, though, was Catherine Hahn. Because, and I love Catherine Hahn. To me, this woman can do no wrong. And the way Kevin Feige described it, he goes, and in every sitcom, you need a wacky neighbor. And then they introduced Catherine Hahn. I'm like, this just couldn't get any better. Like, this to me is just glorious.
John, did they say anything about this sitcom element? Is it a product of her mind?
They gave no hint at that whatsoever, one way or the other.
If it's like this, it's a good life thing, and this is a reality that she's created for herself. Like, it isn't Vision at all. It's her resurrected image of the world that she wants to now live in because of everything that's happened to her. She's been so damaged that this is her psychological prison she's created for herself. It could be really cool.
It could. The one thing I think they need to avoid, though, the one thing, like, there are different ways to do this, lots of ways to skin this cat. But what they cannot do, I believe, is go through the whole season and in the final act of the last episode go, it was all just a vision. Like, if they do it Matrix style where it's in and out, where it's clearly communicating to the audience. Like, if Vision's not real and it's all just in this recreated world of hers, this reality she wants to live in. If they let the audience in on that and they go kind of Matrix, we're in the Matrix, now we're in the real, now we're on the Nebuchadnezzar, now we're in the Matrix, now we're on the if they do that, that's cool. But I think they're going to piss a lot of people off if they try to pull this thing where they go the whole season one way and just at the end they pull, what was it, Dallas that did that? Or what was it? It was just a dream.
But the title says it all, doesn't it? It's her vision.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's also the name of the character.
Is it though?
I think it's a double entendre. I think it's a double entendre. Question here is, guys, what do you think about all this stuff we're hearing about WandaVision? This is like a wackiness level, potentially, that we haven't seen or in the MCU at this point. It could be really exciting. What are you guys thinking about it right now? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to this next off the top, and that is this. As a part of that presentation for Disney Plus at D23, which was far superior to the Disney Pictures presentation, but we'll get to that in a bit. But another part of the Disney Plus presentation that caught most people, and I'll speak for myself here, particularly surprised me, was the announcement of 3 new shows. Now, if you had told me, I was saying this to Rob earlier, if you had told me before the presentation started that today during the Disney Plus presentation, Kevin Feige will be announcing 3 new shows, and I could guess what those 3 shows are, there was a slight chance I might have thought Ms. Marvel, just because there's been some whispers about that before. But honestly, wouldn't have been one of my picks. I wouldn't have thought that would be one. I certainly wouldn't have picked the trio of She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Miss Marvel. Not that I wouldn't want them. I'm just saying that's not what I thought they would have done. And yet they announced She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Miss Marvel. And Rob, I think I speak on behalf of myself and the rest of the world to say, God, I wish Robert Meyer Burnett were sitting beside me when they announced Moon Knight. I did not think they would do that. I did not think they would go in that direction. And yet they did. She-Hulk. I mean, there's been a lot of question marks surrounding even the possibility of She-Hulk. She's a derivative character, which I'm usually not all that big on anyway. But there's a connection there to the Hulk, and there's some distribution issues with Universal when it comes to the Hulk, but we didn't know what the level of that was. None of us were really thinking She-Hulk. And yet it's She-Hulk. We just had Captain Marvel, but we did hear whispers and rumors that they may be looking at Kamala Khan as Ms. Marvel, which was actually probably a good decision and all that as well. But anyway, Rob, I mean, I've been waiting 3 days to ask you this. You hear about this. We'll get to She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel here in a second, but they've done it. They've announced Moon Knight on Disney Plus. I want to know your reaction, but then after you give your reaction, I want to know this. Everything about that Disney Plus presentation, from High School Musical to The World According to Jeff Goldblum, and Encore with, who's the girl from who's Sarah Marshall again? What's her name?
Kristen Bell.
Encore, another song and dance thing.
Dude, Lizzie McGuire in the house.
Yeah, Lizzie McGuire. Very Disney getting back to its very family-friendly roots. And then they announced Moon Knight as a part of Disney Plus, which I thought was interesting. Anyway, Rob, 3 days I've been waiting to hear from you. Take it away.
First of all, I thought I was being pranked. Somebody sent, I see the logo, the Marvel Studios thing, and I'm like, is somebody doing this to me? Like, is this, because, I always think everything's about me. And it was, I lost my shit. I mean, I really went bananas. And I couldn't believe it. First of all, I couldn't believe it. We've heard rumors and they've been talking about, but of all the characters, I mean, Moon Knight is definitely a second-tier character. Now, and when Moon Knight first came out, of course, he was introduced in the pages of Werewolf by Night. Then he was in the Hulk magazine. And then he was in a couple of I think, a Marvel team-up. And then he was given his own series. His first series was in 1980. And that's when I first started falling in love with Moon Knight, with the Doug Mensch and Bill Sienkiewicz run on Moon Knight. And that, to me, is the definitive Moon Knight. But people always said he's a Batman clone. But the fact that they're doing a series is better than a movie, because a movie's only 2 hours long. A series, it's going to be 6 episodes, it's going to be 8 episodes, however many episodes it's going to be. It's going to be 2 or 3 or maybe 4 times as long as a movie, which, to my mind, it's like, we've been getting a lot of great stuff from the MCU, John, but this has been a dream. Since I've been talking on the internet about superhero movies, since you brought me on and Schnepp brought me on in April of 2015, my dream, John, I mean, it might not have been I have a dream to see all people free and equal. My dream has been to see Moon Knight come to life. I have a dream, and that was Moon Knight, and my God, they have given it to me. I can't believe it, but now it's the question, which Moon Knight? Are they gonna show his descent into madness? Are we gonna get the Moon Knight was 4 characters? Remember, he was Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, Jake Lockley, and then of course Moon Knight. That was the definitive version. Moon Knight had an alter ego of, Mark Spector is the mercenary character. That's who he really was. Then Stephen Grant was his Bruce Wayne persona. Jake Lockley was the cab driver persona, where he could keep his eyes and ears on the streets to find out what's going on. And then Moon Knight would come in and kick ass. So he's like 4 different characters, and then he kind of went crazy later. He went crazy. I mean, he joined the West Coast Avengers for a while. I'm so excited, John. I'm like, they're giving me everything I want. Everything I want, John. It's a great time to be alive. Even though the Amazon is burning, I'm getting everything I want from the MCU, and by God, I'm a better man for it. And so are all of you.
Now, listen, the question I do have to raise here, and I've been dying to know what you would say about this, is, Moon Knight, there are many different ways to do many different characters, right?
Yes.
Moon Knight, some may suggest, is kind of a violent set of stories. Teetering on, if not crossing the line of R-rated stuff, right? Were you surprised that doing a Moon Knight show, that it wouldn't appear, like if I were to say to you before D23 started, Rob, and I said, Disney's going to do a Moon Knight series. That I can confirm for you, Rob. They're doing it. Now, do you think it's going to be on Disney Plus, or do you think it's going to be on Hulu? Like, which one would you have naturally thought it would lean towards?
You know, that's hard to say. I think it could go either way. I mean, I would prefer, I think, to see it on Hulu. But also, one of the things about the Moon Knight comic is Moon Knight has a girlfriend, Marlene, and he has his best friend in the world, his manservant, but also his pilot, his compatriot Frenchie. And if they're going to play Frenchie, I don't know how they're going to play that character, but it's going to be interesting to see. It could be a Disney Plus, but I do see this more along the lines of a Daredevil, like what we got on the Netflix Daredevil show. Maybe not that bone-crunchingly violent necessarily, because I always thought one of the things I liked about Moon Knight, and people are going to think I'm crazy, I have a romanticism about the character, because there's a character in that first run called Stained Glass Scarlet, and there's Marlene and the relationship he has. I mean, Stephen Grant, Moon Knight can be played a little romantic and bone crunching at the same time, so it'll be interesting to see how they go. Or if they go with the Mr. Knight and he's dressed in an all-white suit with a mask on his face. It depends, because there's been weird, especially over the last 5 years, they've gone in strange directions with Moon Knight that's very different from where he came from, so it'll be interesting to see. I'd like to see it about a man who sort of loses control or loses himself in trying to do good. The quest to be a do-gooder leads him to a psychotic break that sends him spiraling off into madness. I mean, that could be really interesting.
So let's touch that now then for a minute on the other two announcements, that She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel. What were your quick thoughts on those ones?
Well, first of all, I was thinking a friend of mine suggested Gwendolyn Christie is playing She-Hulk, but then I thought my man John Campea, I'm like, who should be She-Hulk? Jennifer Gardner, dude.
Well, sign me up.
Jennifer Gardner, She-Hulk, right there. I'm into She-Hulk. I always loved, especially Burns' run on the character. I've always loved the She-Hulk character. I mean, a lawyer, and if David Kelly comes aboard and does the She-Hulk character,
she was on the Fantastic Four roster for a while, was she not?
Oh, yes. And She-Hulk's been all the way across the Marvel Universe. I love that character. I think it could be great. And, a Miss Marvel character, too. I mean, obviously, Carol Danvers at one point was Miss Marvel. I love I love this idea. And, the idea that they're making female characters like this, I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, She-Hulk is a delightful character. And I think the potential for doing, like, an Ally McBeal with She-Hulk could kick ass.
That could be very, very good.
Oh, who wouldn't love that? And when people are saying, "Oh, it's too woke or it's too feminist," I'm like, you guys are out of your minds. I mean, doing a great She-Hulk series could be awesome, and it's Marvel moving into a different genre. Whether you do a legal procedural that's a cross between, I don't know, whatever, Boston Legal or an Ally McBeal and a superhero show, sign me up.
Chris, you're hearing about these three shows. Which one stands out to you the most?
Oh, man, I'm so excited about them. I'm really into She-Hulk because I really do hope it's that procedural law show, because I think that's going to be so fun. I'm super, super hyped for that. But I think Ms. Marvel, that comic, despite what people have said, because people post all this SJW, blah, 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 those sales show themselves, guys. That comic has done really, really well. Shut your mouths. Kamala Khan is amazing, and we also have the opportunity to have Brie Larson as Captain Marvel come in and mentor her. We get great crossover opportunities here. I think she's an incredible character. Her powers are super, super cool.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
very
fun.
fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun for people to see that, and it's going to be fun for more girls to see a hero who looks like them on screen.
By the way, there's something also to mention. One of my favorite comics of all time is Avengers Annual 10, and it has the introduction of Rogue. First time we meet Rogue of the X-Men, stealing Miss Marvel, but the Carol Danvers incarnation, but stealing her powers.
Which leaves us with the Rogue that we know more traditionally.
Right, and man, I would love to see that played out in the pages of that series. That could be a great way to introduce one of the X-Men.
All right, guys. Question is, what did you think about all these announcements? Are these shows you would have expected? Are you excited about this lineup? Let us know what you guys think. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with all that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. See, You guys come up with them by simply going over to www.thejohncampiashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on The John Campea Show. With that down, let's move on to our first main topic today. Chris, what is our first main topic today?
This comes from Mitch Caulfield. Hey, John and crew, love the show. I am curious to know what character the new addition cast of the Suicide Squad, Nathan Fillion. I'm excited about this casting as I love this actor in the TV show Castle, and I want to know your thoughts and insights into this casting. Thanks. Have a good day.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, I couldn't be happier. I could not be more thrilled. I mean, look, a lot of people for a very long time have been wanting to see Nathan Fillion on the big screen in a superhero film. That we have seen him to some degree in some superhero stuff. Let's go over to the actual report. This came to us from Deadline. We're also hearing that Nathan Fillion, they're the ones who broke this, Nathan Fillion will be starring in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad at Warner Brothers. The actor's role is being kept under wraps. Fillion has a long history of working with Gunn. He played the voice of a monstrous inmate in Guardians of the Galaxy, which I thought was hilarious. You never would have known it was him. Bill Party in Gunn's 2006 horror comedy Slither, one of the most underrated films ever made. To this day,
good.
I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I love it, I love it, I love it. But Slither is my favorite James Gunn movie of all time. That everybody should see Slither, and Nathan Fillion's great in it. Anyway, James Gunn's 2006 horror comedy Slither, and the Holy Avenger in Gunn's 2010 pick Super. Now, of course, he's most well known, rightfully or wrongfully so, for Firefly. That's where everybody will think of him from. But then he's had like this show that ran like 8 seasons that I never saw a single episode of, by the way. Castle. That was his longest running. As far as success goes, his most successful show ever. But we always think of Serenity and Firefly with Nathan Fillion.
Yep.
Fair. And he's got a show going right now, by the way.
The Rookie.
The Rookie on ABC, which I still have not seen. But I really do want to see it just because I love Nathan Fillion. So I want to see that as well. Anyway, Rob, we're now hearing, James Gunn has slid him in here and slid him in there, had him in Slither. The word Deadline is using is starring in, rather than going to take up a little thing. So let's just take them at their word for now, starring in. Is this big news at this point?
I don't know if it's big news, but James Gunn, I love the fact that, I think a lot of great directors, they get an ensemble of actors that they keep returning to again and again. You see the same actors coming in, and when a director develops a relationship with talent, with actors, I think it's a good thing. I've always liked that. And all I know is that if Nathan Fillion is going to be in the Suicide Squad, it will allow him to aim to misbehave once again on the big screen. And I love his presence. I think it's great to see that. And kudos between Michael Rooker and Nathan Fillion. You get to see James Gunn have these guys that he has a great relationship with, pulls out great performances, and that means the audience is going to have a heck of a good time. And I can't wait.
Yeah, I am 1,000% on board with this. I love Nathan Fillion. He's got a type of charm and charisma that nobody else has that kind of charm and charisma. I'm not saying he has the most charisma in the world, but he's got a charm to him when he's on screen. He is both vulnerable and strong all at the same time, which was played out great in Mal. Still one of the great movie lines I've ever heard in my life is from Serenity. And listen, if I'm not back in 10 minutes, you come rescue me. That is one of the best lines ever in any sci-fi film in all of history. It's great. I'm super stoked about this. Chris, you're hearing about this. Are you big on this, or do you think this is a little kind of, well, in a way, kind of friend zone nepotism by James Gunn here?
Oh, I don't think he'd friend zone him. They're in a very intimate, bonded relationship. They love each other. I'm so excited about this. One of the internet's boyfriends, Nathan Fillion, in a new franchise. Yes. In a reboot of a franchise, I should say. I'm very, very excited. I really hope he's someone kind of smarmy, because we love a very charming Fillion. But, I mean, you look at Santa Clarita Diet. You look at
Right.
Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. I love when Fillion's kind of a creep. So I really hope we see more of that. And I think that James Gunn's really going to set his friend up for something great. And also, he was in Two Guys, a Girls, and a Pizza Place back in the day. He played one of the love interests on that show.
I totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
And also, wasn't he in, Wasn't he in Buffy? Wasn't he a villain character in one of the Buffy
Oh,
episodes?
probably.
I think. Anyway, the dude's
That
just
sounds
done
right.
so much.
He's done so much. I'm
So
so excited
much.
to see more of him. I love him.
I-
I still really want like a Blue Beetle and Booster
And Booster
Gold movie
Gold?
with him and Alan Tudyk, but I'm okay with this.
I love seeing those two together. Well, listen, guys, question is, what do you think about this news? Do you think this is a great addition? Do you think it just, no, it's just too much of getting the friends together? Or do you think, no, that makes it even better? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to our second main topic today. Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This question comes from Terrence Gillespie. Greetings and salutations, everyone. I just saw that Disney Plus is planning on doing week-to-week releases of their episodes instead of dropping a whole season at the same time. Since a lot of audiences have grown accustomed to getting their seasons all at once, do you think people will respond well to this? Is this Disney Plus's first major mistake? How do you feel about this and how it affects binge culture?
I've actually been saying for a while now that I think, the way I like to watch the new TV shows is I'm a binger. I am. I kind of dig it in one sense, although there's a opposite side to the coin here that I'll get to in a second. But in one sense, I really kind of like it when an entire season drops and I can just watch them all right now. There's something very fun about that, and that's kind of honestly, my preferred way of consuming television shows. That being said, I have said for a while that I believe the smarter way to do it, if you're a network, is by releasing week to week, because that keeps the conversation going. And the longer the conversation goes and the longer your show is the topic of the water cooler, the greater the chances that more and more people will start hopping on that train. We use this as an example. Stranger Things season 3 was great. And nobody was talking about it 2 weeks after Stranger Things season 3 came out. Nobody was talking about it anymore because everybody had seen it. It's done. It's now in the rearview mirror. We're under a traditional release format. The first episode had dropped, everybody be talking about it. Then a full week later, another episode drops and everybody's talking about it again. Step and repeat, step and repeat, step and repeat. Chernobyl. I loved the idea of Chernobyl when I first saw the trailers. But it was the week after week after week that for weeks everybody was gawking about Chernobyl, that I was like, okay, I can't waste any more time. I got to jump on this thing. Because it could have slid under my radar if it had just dropped all in 1 week, everybody talked about it for a week, and then it was gone. I think studies have shown that your shows will gain more traction and get more word of mouth buzz and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, in light of that discussion, one of the big topics of conversation has been, what is Disney Plus going to do when it comes to their series? Are they going to go the Netflix route and drop them all at once? Are they going to go the HBO route of releasing week to week? Are they going to go maybe the Hulu route of, that's a little bit of an amalgamation where they drop like the first 3 episodes at once and then go week to week, which actually I think is kind of a bloody brilliant strategy, to be honest with you. Anyway, well, the mystery's now gone. TV Line is now reporting that Disney Plus is going to be releasing their episodes, which we sort of suspected. They're going to be releasing their episodes on a week-to-week basis. Not the way that I personally choose to consume, but the way I personally think is absolutely probably the right way to do. But you know, Rob, one other thing that came out about this that I have to admit gives me a little bit of a relief is that I've seen a few people online using the term binge stress. And I'd never heard of that before, but as I read a number of people online talking about this, and it makes sense. It goes, now, there is a little bit of a thing of binge stress that when a new show drops, you almost feel, like on Netflix, you almost feel a pressure to watch it as quickly as possible to be up to speed on what everybody else has seen and to avoid spoilers and people talking. Because I know I watched all of Mindhunter Season 2 in about 3 or 4 days. And I don't know that I would have done that had I not felt an incredible pressure from everybody who wants to talk to me about, about Mindhunter Season 2. There is a little bit of a binge stress as well. Anyway, long and short of it is, I think this is a good move for Disney Plus. I think this will help their shows gain traction if they're good. Because if they're crap, it doesn't make any difference. But if they're good, this will go a long way to getting people on board. Because if Mandalorian is great, by the time you get to week 4 of the fourth episode's out, and now you've had 4 solid weeks of everybody raving about Mandalorian. People are going to go, well, I guess I better sign up for this Disney Plus thing. It's going to help them out. I think, personally, Rob, this is a good move. How do you see it?
I think it's a fantastic move. I think one of the problems with our modern day is that we have a preponderance of riches. We have all of these things, and like we binge these shows, like you very astutely pointed out. You binge Stranger Things season 3, and then it's over. You know, and you're on to the next. And as when we were growing up, we became fans of movies because we could watch them over and over again. They would marinate in our minds. When you're watching shows, I have found that some of my most enjoyable experiences watching shows lately, the Jack Ryan show on Hulu, or what is it, The Looming Tower? Was it called The Looming Tower? About
Man of the High? No,
the one about the Jeff Daniels was in about the.
Right.
I think it was The Looming Tower, something like that, and the Man in the High Castle or Handmaid's Tale. I like the fact, or I was a fan of the show The Path that was on Hulu. I don't know why, but I was.
Oh, that was the kid from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, Aaron Paul. And you know, it's almost like it was a gift every week. Sometimes life would get in the way and you'd forget that you were watching these shows and you're like, oh my God, there's a new episode. And you could sit down for 45 minutes or 50 minutes. You didn't have to sit there for a half a day. And you could get this infusion, and then you'd think about what happened for a while. You'd be like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next week. And you could contemplate it, and you'd have time to roll it around in your head. And I think ultimately it was, in a way, a more satisfying viewing experience because it would last longer. You'd think about it more. And then when you'd forget that a week had gone by, because life moves pretty fast, and if you blink, you might miss it. And then there's another episode, and it was another infusion of joy that you'd forgotten about, that you weren't expecting. And now, since we're going to have like 100 shows we want to watch now, having them spread out is helpful and fun, and I think it'll make us maybe even enjoy our shows more.
One of the little added benefits, and granted, this is very selfish, it's very myopic, but one of the other little benefits is this. I want to do a week-to-week Mandalorian after show, and you can't do that with Netflix shows. You can't do that, right? I want to have, definitely going to have a Mandalorian after show every single week. We're going to watch an episode, and we're going to do a live stream. We're going to talk about that damn episode, and you can do that with week-to-week stuff. You can get together with everybody and talk episode by episode, and I'm so stoked for this. I think it's a brilliant move. Question is, guys, what do you think about this? Do you think this is a smart move? Now, understand, if you're like me, you kind of like the binging thing, but separate that from what do you think was the smart move on their part. I actually think this was a smart move. Maybe you disagree. If so, let me know why. Jump down to the comment section below and let everybody know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's now move on to our third main topic today. Chris, which is our third main topic today?
I'm so sorry if I butcher your name. This is from Yuri Vasilev. Hi, John. With the weekend numbers in Hobbs and Shaw making over $100 million in China, the movie is about to cross the $600 million mark at the box office. Is this enough to consider the film a success, or is it still considered a disappointment? Thanks, and we love your show. Where are you sitting? Success, disappointment?
Yeah, that's been a lot of... Look, obviously, this whole thing kind of blew up a while ago when Hobbs & Shaw opened over $60 million. It was one of The Rock's biggest opening weekends ever, actually. It's very successful. Some people, we won't go into it again, but some people decided to criticize it and say all this kind of stuff. Well, now it's sitting at over $600 million, which, by the way, if you take out Spider-Man, which is associated with the MCU, in Hollywood, Hobbs & Shaw is now the #1 box office movie of the year that is not a Disney-produced movie, or at least not a Disney-associated like Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse is. It is now the #1 film of the year. So, I mean, keep that in place here. Now, the question often came up is this movie even going to break even? Because it was an expensive movie. As a matter of fact, they spent way too much money on this movie. They spent $200 million. There's no justifying that. I don't care. There's no justifying spending $200 million on this particular movie. That said, as you're approaching now $600 million at the worldwide box office, which by the end of today, Monday, it probably will cross $600 million. You're talking about a movie that is safely into the profitability zone. Because even if they spent upwards of $150 million on marketing, which is probably high, but let's just even go high. Let's say they spent $150 million on marketing, which they probably didn't even. It was probably less than that. But now you're talking about a grand total of about $350 million. At $600 million, roughly take away 1/3 for the box office keep, and you're talking about a film that has $400 million. You're already today, with still more time to go, talking about the movie being in the profitability of $50 million already. So can we consider Hobbs and Shaw a success? Honestly, at this point, unless you have a pre-existing bias against the movie and a pre-existing narrative that you want to force all the other facts to try to reflect, there's no way to look at Hobbs and Shaw as anything but a success. Could it have been bigger? Oh, that's a different question altogether. Yeah, I thought, you asked me 6 months ago, I would have said, and I probably did say, that I think Hobbs and Shaw has the potential to be a billion-dollar film. Absolutely, it could have been bigger. But what it could have been doesn't take away from the fact that by every metric imaginable, this film's already $50 million in the profit. It's only going to go up. This film is a success. You make $600 million, your movie's successful. Usually. So, but I mean, this thing is a success. I don't see there being any other way of looking at that. And it's a damn fun little movie too, to boot. Anyway, Rob, you're taking a look at this. It may not be as high as we thought it could have gone, and it's still climbing. Had over 100 million opening in China. It's still going to go up even more. But at this point, do you think it's safe to say that it has crossed from possibly being considered a disappointment to being successful, or do you still think maybe it's got a little ways to go?
Well, I finally saw Hobbs and Shaw, and I liked it more than I thought I was going to like it. And I think it is successful. The only way it could have been more successful is, of course, if Han was in it.
Which he might, depending on the theories.
I know,
maybe
and that's what I was like. I'm like, I now see it. I think we are going to get justice for Han. But of course, like you said, we live in this world now where I think a lot of film fans and pundits we hear this $1 billion number as if it becomes par for the course. That's norm now. $1 billion, a movie making $1 billion is so insane anyway. I mean, Lion King is now the 9th biggest grossing film of all time. It's in the top 10. This is Lion King. Disney's having a heck of a year, but this movie making $600 million, like you said, by any metric, $600 million, unless the movie was like Batman v Superman and cost almost $400 million, it wouldn't be so good. But I think this movie is successful. In fact, it's a spin-off. It has none of your original family from the Fast and the Furious movies. I think it did great. I think The Rock's got to be very happy. Statham's got to be very happy. I don't think Idris Elba's very happy, but you never know. And I do think it's a success, and I think they're going to make another one.
And obviously Tyrese is probably very happy, and I'm sure the congratulations
and Vin
letters
Diesel.
And Vin Diesel's actually I'll bet you Vin Diesel is happy, because I don't know all the intricate connections, but I bet you Vin Diesel gets a cut of this movie.
Oh, he gets the cheddar
as a producer, so I guarantee you
Idris is going to be fine too, you guys. He's got cats.
Yeah, Idris, and he has a high tolerance for hot wings apparently. But listen, Vin's smart. Vin Diesel's a smart cat. He knows he's making money off this. He's smiling all the way to the bank on this stuff. Anyway, guys, question. What do you guys think about this? Is this to you now enough to consider successful? Did it need to make more? It's still going to make more, but where do you see Hobbs and Shaw right now in the grand scope of things? I love that Rob points out, remember, it is a spin-off with none of the original characters as well at the same time. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, let's now move on to the fourth main topic today. Chris, what is main topic number 4 today?
Okay, real quick, I just want to let you know I finally watched a Fast and Furious movie
when I couldn't go.
Yeah, when I couldn't go. I watched Fast and Furious 2. And
what?
Yeah. So I finally saw one. It came on the TV at the hotel when I had to schlep it back because I didn't get into a Marvel panel.
Oh, it's too bad you had to watch 2.
Yeah. But I've seen more now.
Well, at least now you've seen more.
At least you got to meet Roman.
Yeah.
At least you got
now I know what everyone's talking about. Okay, this question is from Brian Shane. Looks like the fat lady is sung. With all the comments coming out from Kevin Feige and no announcement at D23, seems that Spidey and the MCU days are over. What really caught my attention, though, is Tom Holland saying in an interview that he's looking forward to continuing on as Spider-Man and that he thinks they can make them better than the MCU ones. What do you think of his comments? Do you think they can be better?
Well, okay, so what he's talking about here is at D23, after Tom Holland left the stage, and look, guys, it was the elephant in the room at D23. Are they going to address Spider-Man? And, initially there were stories had started floating about a deal has been reached. A deal's been reached, and had all these people sending me, John, did you hear the news? Sony and Marvel have made a deal. And I said, really? They have? And you look around and it came from Cosmic Book News. All right, can I just throw in something here, guys? Please.
No.
Never send me anything where the source is Cosmic Book News or We've Got This Covered. Please never, ever, ever take any news story where that comes as a source. Now, let me be clear. That is not to say that those particular outlets can't have great editorial material and have some great insights and put together some fun articles. Not at all. Not at all. I'm not suggesting to the contrary on any of that at all. They can have some great fun editorials, a really enjoyable place to be if you're a fan, blah, blah, blah. All I'm saying is, please never, ever, ever send me a breaking story where the originating source is either We've Got This Covered or Cosmic Book News. Fabulous sites for fans if you're liking that stuff for all other types of content, but don't ever send that. Please don't. So anyway, that story quickly got thrown out into the trash that a deal had already been reached. But the big 10,000 pound elephant in the room was, are they going to address Spider-Man? And they didn't. They stayed totally silent on it the entire time, which I honestly thought wasn't the worst thing in the world, but I thought it probably would have behooved them. Look, you had the great High Lord Alan Horn on stage at D23, who is the all-imperial overlord of all things movies at Disney, answering only to Bob Iger, who runs all of Disney corporate. But Alan Horn is the guy when it comes to their movie universes. All of them. That's Alan Horn. I think, without going into a full documentary description of here's how everything with our Spider-Man situation went down, I think it would have been great if at some point he would have at least acknowledged the issue, because that's what everybody in the audience was whispering about. What's going on with Spider-Man? What's going on with Spider-Man? What's going on with Spider-Man? I think it would have behooved him to at least gone, and guys, in Alan Horn's way, there's been a lot of talk about Spider-Man, and all we're going to say right now is we love the Spider-Man character, and we're going to continue working to see if something can get done. But we know the news has disappointed a lot of people, but just know that we also love Spider-Man, and who knows what the future holds. I mean, or just something to acknowledge what everybody in the audience is doing. But like I told you guys, if there was no deal, they're going to keep their lips completely shut. And the most they allowed Tom Holland to say, when Tom Holland was on stage for Onward, for the Pixar film Onward with him and Chris Pratt, the only thing they allowed Tom Holland to say was, as Holland was walking off stage, hey guys, just want to say, I know it's been a crazy week, but I just want to say that I love you all 3,000. And then walked off stage, which I thought was nice. But it kind of had a death knell kind of tone to it. It kind of felt like, well, that's the period at the end of the sentence. So here's what happens. Tom Holland is on stage for Onward, makes that comment, walks off stage at D23, and he sits down and starts and does just a couple of interviews with some of the big outlets, including Fox. Anyway, he said something very interesting. He went on, remember, he's still on the stage left of D23, just not on stage, but off stage left, behind the curtains there. And Tom Holland says this, basically, we've made 5 great movies. It's been 5 amazing years. I've had the time of my life. Who knows what the future holds? But all I know is this, that I'm going to continue playing Spider-Man and having the time of my life. It's going to be so fun, however we choose to do it. The future for Spider-Man will be different, but it will be equally as awesome and amazing, and we'll find new ways to make it even cooler. Last part again. The future for Spider-Man will be different, but it will be equally as awesome and amazing, and we'll find new ways to make it even cooler. Now, these are words from Tom Holland that he said at D23. Rob, one of the things that I'm always trying to point out to people is that when a movie star who has upcoming movies coming out and they're talking about their upcoming movies, what do you expect them to say? Man, my next movie's gonna suck. Of course not. Of course not. So I knew there was no way Tom Holland, keep getting the Tom H's mixed up there. Although we could see Tom Hardy and Tom Holland in a movie together now, but we should never have expected, nor did I ever expect, that Tom Holland was going to go into, while still at D23 in the arena, and go to an interview going like, screw Sony, I hate this, I want to stay in the MCU. Obviously, he wasn't going to say anything like that. Clearly, he wasn't going to say anything like that anyway. But I also didn't expect him to come out and sound so resoundingly positive. Like, he could have just come out and said, hey, the decisions being made are above my pay grade right now about all that, but all I'm going to say is that I love the Spider-Man character. And whichever way it goes, I'm just happy to be Spider-Man. I mean, he could have very easily said that, been very diplomatic about it, but instead he seemed to go the extra mile on it. He said, look, it's going to be different, but it's going to be even cooler than it has been before. And I don't think he needed to say that. That I don't think he needed to say, but he said it. And I'll tell you what, Rob, I agree 1,000% with him. Because I think, again, from my point of view, would I have wanted to see Spider-Man stay in the MCU? Yeah, I would have. I like what the partnership between Sony and Marvel has given us. I like what we've gotten there. But if that's not going to happen, I still feel very safe because they've got a terrific Spider-Man right now in Tom Holland. It, again, in my opinion, at any rate, Sony without Disney has made the two best Spider-Man movies, in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man 2. They've also made the worst Spider-Man movies too, let's not forget that. But still, they've made the best Spider-Man movies. And I kind of like the idea, because you know me, Rob, I am not really digging the overcrowded superhero universe where every single street corner 7-Eleven has 5 superheroes on the roof patrolling for crime, where all the superheroes now have nothing special about them whatsoever because there's 50 other guys and girls running around out there with similar power sets that they do and all that kind of stuff. I kind of like the idea of Spider-Man now going into a world again where he's kind of unique. There's not 50 others. Like, that's one scene in Spider-Man Far From Home. It's a great scene, but it kind of speaks to this, where all the kids are sitting around in the hotel watching the news of this Mysterio fighting this creature. It's like, which one's this guy again? Oh, he's kind of like, that's the thing. Now, there's so many of these superpowered beings running around in these collective cinematic universes, and I love the collective cinematic universes. The idea of Spider-Man going back to a world where it's him, maybe a Venom, maybe a Morbius, but there's not 10,000 new superheroes popping up on the news screens every single night. There's something cool about that. Again, I would have chosen to have Sony and Marvel work their deal out and have things stay the way they were. I think they were doing great stuff. But in the absence of that, I think everything Tom Holland said is absolutely correct. I think there's a lot of great potential here. We're going to possibly get to see Spider-Man and Venom together again. That could be really nice. I think there's upside. There's downside, but I think there's upside here, Rob. So I don't know. Rob, you hear these comments from a Tom Holland, and it is now looking like maybe the final nail has been driven, and I still contend when there's time, there's hope. So there's still some hope here that Marvel and Disney, or Disney and Sony could come to something, but it is looking more and more like this thing is now done. All that being said, what's your response to this situation?
Well, look, I've liked Spider-Man's participation in the MCU, but I think you said it well. I mean, Tony Stark's gone. That was really Spider-Man's real connection to the MCU, even the suits. I think, look, just like with comic books characters have their own book. Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, whatever. And then sometimes they might cross over with somebody else. But the world goes on. People, like, I have lots of friends. We don't have our team-ups except maybe once or twice every couple of years. But I lead my own lives, just like my friends lead their own lives. And so I think it's time for Spider-Man. He needs to grow up. He needs to find who he is in the world. He needs to sort of go off on his own, and he's going to come back to his neighborhood. The Avengers, we're going to see the Eternals. We're going to see Shang-Chi. We're going to see Black Widow. There's not a lot of opportunity for Spider-Man to even work in the MCU now over the next 2 years into Phase 4. So if they do a Spider-Man movie, I don't think the MCU is going to be missed. They have a great opportunity to have Spider-Man get out of high school, go into college. What coming back to the neighborhood, who is he going to be going forward as himself, as his own man? What does a man like Spider-Man do? What does Peter Parker do when your mentor is gone? You have to set out on your own. It's time. I mean, in a way, the father figure, he's moving out of the house and going to college. He's forging his own identity, going off. And I think the idea or the potential for story ideas for Spider-Man is great. It's exactly where he should be. We no longer have to rely on the MCU to provide sort of a backstop to make sure that a Spider-Man story has the extra strength of somebody else behind him. Spider-Man, the training wheels are off. Tom Holland, Spider-Man's got to go off on his own and have his own identity, and that's fine. We're not even going to miss the bigger MCU, because if you have a great Spider-Man story, no one's going to care.
Hey, let me throw this by you. New Spider-Man, whatever it's called,
Spider-Man Homeless.
Spider-Man Homeless. Spectacular Spider-Man. Let's say that's the name of the next one. Spectacular Spider-Man. Sony announces Spectacular Spider-Man starring Tom Holland. Go back to Into the Spider-Verse. Directed by Lord and Miller. I'm just throwing that out there. They've already got Lord and Miller working on Spider-Man stuff. Imagine that. Spectacular Spider-Man starring Tom Holland, directed by Lord and Miller. How exciting would that be? You know, some people have brought up to me and said, man, how the hell is Kevin Feige going to explain in the MCU Spider-Man suddenly not being there? There's no way. You can't explain that. My counter to that has been this, and Rob, you kind of alluded to this already. What influence has Spider-Man had on the MCU? He had a major connection to Tony Stark. Tony Stark is gone. Everybody else in the MCU has literally spent either minutes or at the most a few hours with Spider-Man. He has not had a tight, solid connection with anybody other than a third-level character in one of my favorites, though, with Happy Hogan. Other than Happy, he doesn't have a direct, hardcore connection to anybody.
Nope.
Where suddenly his absence is going to cause massive confusion in everybody else's stories. I honestly think the MCU will move on without a hiccup. Now, maybe the MCU in some movie mentions the kid or something like that. Whatever happened to the kid? I don't know. He just kind of dropped off the radar. I mean, a little something like that, right? It's not like the ending of Endgame notwithstanding. It's not like, where did Captain America go? Like, it's not like Captain America or Black Widow, who is so intricately connected to everything going on within the very fiber of the MCU. Spider-Man really wasn't that. And on top of all that, he was gone for 5 years as part of the blip. So I don't think it's going to be hard to explain. As far as how do they explain it in the Sony side, again, I don't think it's going to be that hard. I've been going back, Rob, tell me if this is a bad illustration, but I've been going back to recently the whole situation with the Highlander 2 and the Highlander 3. Highlander 2, first of all, Highlander
Yeesh.
1, one of my top 10 favorite films of all time. Highlander 2, one of the 3 most god-awful films in the history of cinema. Then they put out Highlander 3, which isn't terrible, actually. I think Mario Van Peebles is in that, actually. They put out Highlander 3. It completely pretends Highlander 2 doesn't even exist. You can watch Highlander 3 and you would never know that the Highlander 2 ever existed. And I think they can do that in a way. I mean, there's different ways to go about it, but I think they can do that, and I think they'll be fine. Will it be a little jarring at first? Yes. And again, do I think this whole thing could go terribly wrong? Oh, yeah. This could go south. We could be looking at the next Spider-Man 3. I mean, sure, it could.
All the jazz hands.
All the jazz hands.
I don't think so, because if you really think about what's going on, all of the stories, Thor, Love and Thunder, you're dealing with, again, the cosmic realm. You're dealing with Asgardians. You're dealing with the second Thor. Thor is not somebody who's dealing with New York City. The only Marvel Universe character now that's really based in New York City that we've seen is Doctor Strange. And he's dealing with threats on an entirely different level and realm than Spider-Man's dealing with. Spider-Man's now the man on the ground. He is basically the protector of New York City now. Now, we don't have Daredevil in the MCU yet. We don't have these other street level characters,
Jessica
Luke Cage,
Jones,
any of those characters.
Fantastic
So
Four.
Spider-Man, we haven't seen the Fantastic Four, but everything that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing has gone more cosmic. And until you see like the X-Men who are in upstate New York or something, Shang-Chi will not be dealing with New York City. I don't imagine. It might touch on it. Black Widow's going to be an international film, as we've seen. You've got the Eternals, which again, much bigger than just New York City. So the MCU has now gone, the Avengers now have to defend the Earth. The cosmic threats, whether it's Galactus, whether it's the Celestials, whether it's the Deviants, whatever the hell they're going to do, these stories have moved beyond the New York City realm. So Spider-Man can take care of New York. The threat facing New York, we all know the Avengers are dealing with the cosmic nature of the universe now because that's what's happened. We've seen 23 of the Infinity Saga films. The universe got much bigger for the MCU. So Spider-Man, I don't think we're going to miss it if he's the only person dealing with New York City. It's going to be understood that these characters, our bigger MCU characters, have bigger fish to fry, either internationally or intergalactically. Yeah. And I don't think it's a problem.
When we left off, too, with Peter being outed as a high schooler, that's a PR nightmare for the Avengers. Endangering a minor. We can get rid of that real quick.
And on top of all that, Chris, you're looking at a situation here where I think they can just very easily move past. We've seen other, movie franchise and television franchise have to do this before. But I just wanted to ask you, you hear these comments from Tom Holland. What do you think about them?
Oh, of course he's going to be positive. He's the most Hufflepuff of a boy I've ever seen in my life. He's being a good actor. He's doing what all of us are supposed to do. And it's kind of like, when you break up with somebody and you see your ex, and you're like, I'm doing great. I'm doing so great. I've lost weight. I got promoted at work. Things have never been better for me, honestly. So thank you for breaking up with me. I'm so good. I feel like that's what's happening here.
Chris, to speak to that, Holland's only contracted for one more movie.
Yeah.
So, his renegotiations are coming up. And as I always say, it ain't show friends, it's show business. And if Sony wants... you think Tom Holland's not going to drive a hard bargain after what they did to him in a very public manner? Mm-hmm. It's like, you pay me triple, son.
Well, exactly. I don't know about triple, but he's going to get paid.
Yeah, he's going to get paid.
Here's the thing. I think he wants to continue playing Spider-Man.
Of course he does.
Absolutely.
And I think Sony wants him as their Spider-Man. And I think they will go on. And the other thing to keep in mind here is this. Sony is clearly not adverse to switching their Spider-Mans.
Yep.
And in as much as we often mock Sony for how many times the Spider-Man's been rebooted, think about this. We had Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. A lot of people love Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. We had Andrew Garfield, and while not a lot of people are thrilled with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, most people were very much on board with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Yeah. Then they rebooted again. What was the result of that? We got Tom Holland as Spider-Man. So in as much as we all lament about them always rebooting, we've ended up with a number of actors in Spider-Man that have each brought something a little bit different to the role that a lot of us have really appreciated. I like all the Spider-Men they have, and if they do replace Tom Holland again sometime in the future, I'm sure they'll do a good job again of going out and getting another person to play a good Spider-Man. But I think Holland wants to continue playing this character. We'll see once they make another movie and how good of an experience that is for everybody. But I think he wants to continue playing the character. I think Sony wants him as that. I think Holland going to get a pay raise because now he's not going to be in a cinematic universe where the studio's got to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. and whatever. And they got a little bit extra cheddar to give his way because now he's their star. Think about that. In the MCU, Tom Holland is what? 7th? 8th? On the totem pole? In this Sonyverse, he's king. He is now, like that, overnight, Tom Holland is going to be the king of a cinematic universe. And there's something to be said for that. Now, look, I don't want to make it sound like, at the end of the day, I think this whole thing's gone down is a good thing. I think it's a good thing that Sony and Marvel split up. It's not. I don't think any of us wanted this as our first choice. Me least of all. But it's done. And in reality, I think there can be some very big, valuable silver linings here. I think there's some really good stuff that can come out of this. It's not to say that I think this is overall a good thing, but hey, some good things can come out of it. So question here is, guys, what do you make of what's gone on here all in its entirety and its totality? Do you think this is the best days ahead? Do you think it's nothing but darkness ahead? What do you think about Tom Holland's comments and all that kind of stuff? Let me know what you guys think. Jump down in the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's now move on to our final main topic today. Chris, what is our fifth and final main red lightsaber-like topic today?
Final topic coming from Faye Donaldson. Hi, everyone. Nothing else matters in the world right now than Rey wielding a red lightsaber. Nothing else is worth talking about. Okay, maybe I'm a little hyper about it. But what did you think of that? Will it actually be in the movie, or is this Hulk and Infinity War situation where it's just one big misdirect? Do you guys think this is real?
Well, listen, I was in that cinematic presentation, the Disney theatrical presentation yesterday. The Disney Plus presentation was the day before. That was Friday? Yeah, that was Friday. And that was spectacular. A little underwhelmed by the Disney cinematic presentation, both by Marvel and by Lucasfilm, to be honest with you. I was kind of hoping to hear a little bit more. I mean, overall, Star Wars, they talked about the Cassian Andor show, which was good, but they didn't even tell us the title. I mean, come on. D23 happens once every couple of years. You can't even tell us the title? I mean, come on, Kevin Feige. Okay, the release date for Black Panther 2. This is D20. This only happens every couple of years. Can you give us a little bit? Anyway, I was a little bit underwhelmed overall. There were some very good highlights of the Disney theatrical presentation at D23. But overall, especially considering how good the Disney Plus presentation was, I felt a little bit underwhelmed, including by both the Marvel and, quite frankly, the Star Wars presentation. The highlight, actually, besides the Rey red lightsabers, was Alan Tudyk being on stage talking about the upcoming Cassian Andor show, and they talked about titles. Alan Tudyk, who of course voices K2SO, he suggested a title for Kathleen Kennedy, said, I would like to recommend that we title the show K2 Fast, K2 Furious.
Yeah.
Which is gold right there. It's absolute gold. Then they gave us this clip that they're now playing online, and some people are calling a trailer. Look, I predicted they would give us a Star Wars Episode 9 trailer at D23. And while everybody else is running around saying they've put out the Star Wars trailer, let me tell you right now, I was wrong. That's not a trailer. And they even said, JJ even said, now what we're about to show isn't a trailer. This is just a little, we just wanted to show you guys something, so we whipped this together. So it's not a trailer. I thought it would be a trailer. I was wrong. Thank you to everybody out there trying to make it look like I was right and calling it a trailer, but I was wrong. It wasn't a trailer, but still. And it was basically a lot of footage of old Star Wars movies highlighting that this is the end of the saga kind of stuff. And then about 30 seconds of new little clips, but no real dialogue, just quick, rapid, some images just to show us they've got something. But a couple of the images really stood out to me. And the one you gotta talk about that got the entire place jumping and everybody all of a sudden springing out of their seats going, what the hell? And I remember being in that panel, this image came up, and I immediately tweeted out Rey with double-bladed lightsabers and what looks like a Sith cloak. And out of the hundreds of responses that I got within 30 seconds, half of them were "you're lying" and "what the hell." What the hell and "you're lying" were the most popular responses to what I was putting out here. And this was clearly the shot. And this is what's got everybody talking. Now, we'll talk about this shot here in particular in just a second. One of the other shots in that footage that they showed that I do not hear anybody talking about, and this is, to me, was almost as interesting as this image right here. And that was this. The image of the Star Destroyers. Okay. It's Star Destroyers. I mean, yeah.
Old school.
Look cool. Yeah. These don't look like, and nobody's talking about this. These are not First Order Star Destroyers.
Nope.
These are Imperial Star Destroyers. This is Palpatine era Star Destroyers. And that's the part to me that went, whoa, are we about to see a Hobbit-like battle of the five armies, except instead of five, it's three? Are we about to see the battle of the three militaries? Are we about to see the Resistance, or now the Rebellion Reborn, versus the First Order versus the Empire? Are we going to see two of them teaming up against a third? Could we see First Order and the Rebellion teaming up against the Empire? I mean, just this one image sparks a whole bunch of thoughts and ideas in my head that quite frankly get me quite excited. But we'll talk about that.
Excited?
Oh, yeah, excited. We'll talk about that in just a second. Let's go back to hear this thing about Rey and the lightsaber. Now, ever since this came up, there has been a lot of discussion going around online about what is this that we're seeing, right? What is this that we're seeing? And there were three main theories going around, and I want to introduce a fourth. The three main theories were, number one, as they brought up in the message, it's a misdirect. It's a Hulk in the Infinity War trailers like misdirect. This is not in the movie. I'll say this to that. I can't believe that for a second. I can't believe that for a second. Because you show something like this, which is not just a cool shot. This is a narrative bending kind of moment. Hulk being a part of the charging group in Infinity War, that not being in the movie doesn't actually change the narrative of the story. It's just that, yeah, that exact same is happening. It's just he's not there. That's a big... If Lucasfilm were to pull this, by putting this in a piece of promotional marketing, and it not even being in the movie, it like all of San Francisco would burn. Which I believe is still where Lucasfilm's headquarters are. All of San Francisco would burn. There is no way anybody, new fans, old fans, whatever, there is no way anybody would accept this. That can't happen. So I believe 100% that this is not a pure Hulk in the Infinity War style misdirect. I don't buy that. The second prominent theory is this is a key important moment of the movie. Something very significant happens, perhaps revealing what Darth Sidious or Palpatine's intentions are towards Rey. He wants his new Skywalker. He wants his new apprentice, blah, blah, blah. That's it. So this is a serious key narrative in the movie right here. The third and possibly most popular theory that's going around is that this is indeed in the movie, but it's a dark vision of what things could be. Whether it's a dark vision as being told by Palpatine of what he plans for Rey, or a nightmare sequence of Rey fearing what she may become, something like a Luke down in the Dark Force cave in Empire Strikes Back, you know, something along those lines. It's a dark vision of something that could be, but it's not real. So option one, it's all a misdirect. This isn't in the movie. I don't think we have to worry about that. Option two, the most popular one right now, it's a dark vision. Is there as well. Or the other one is that it's really a part narrative of the movie. I want to suggest a fourth possibility, though, and that is this. The moment the Emperor was brought up as being in Episode 9, a lot of people started talking about cloning. You know, in extended universe stuff, cloning has been a core part of the Emperor's long-range plans. So I want to suggest that there is a possibility here that what we are looking at is neither real, as in this is a key part of the movie, nor is it a dark vision, but perhaps a clone, a dark side clone of Rey. I just want to suggest that. Now, Rob, before we go and get to your thing, I just want to mention, since we're talking about these different options, I made that the topic of today's question of the day. So over on my Twitter, which you can follow me on Twitter, simply at John Campea, I put up the question just before we started the show, is that Rey with the red lightsabers, what are we looking at here? And I gave you guys four options. Misdirect, not in the movie. Really happens, just a dark vision, or Rey is a clone. Right now, there are still almost 10% of you, 9% of you are thinking this isn't even the movie. This is not even in the movie, and almost 3,000 of you guys have registered to vote for this already. 14% of you says, yes, this really happens in the movie, and it's a significant real part of the movie. Overwhelming majority of you guys, 61% of you feel that this is just a dark vision, whether it's a dark dream of Rey's or something like in the machinations of Palpatine talking about what he wants to see happen. And 16% of you are kind of going where I'm going, where this is a dark clone of Rey. So, guys, I've got this again up on my Twitter. You can go over there. I'm going to keep this poll up for the rest of the day. Go over and register your vote there for that. Rob, it's certainly a Sports Center highlight of the night kind of moment. It was all the buzz of D23 at that moment. A lot of possibilities here. So let me put it to you. We see Rey with the red lightsabers. Do you have a particular leaning as to which one of those 4 options we're looking at? Or do you think there's other options that we're not even considering of what we could be looking at? How do you see it?
Well, I'm with you. I think the combination of the Star Destroyers, I mean, there's been the rumors, people have been talking about the Emperor. If you go back and you look at a lot of the EU stuff, all the way back to the Dark Empire comics, and the Emperor cloning himself, I think it makes sense. You know, that the Emperor, cloning, like you said, was a big part of, I remember before Empire Strikes Back came out, I would read these, there were a lot of like one-off film magazines and speculations about what was going to happen in Empire, and Obi-Wan Kenobi was some people, I'll never forget this theory, that OB1, not Obi-Wan, but OB1 was a clone number. A clone designation that Obi-Wan Kenobi was actually a clone.
I remember that.
And I always thought that was kind of cool. And I'll bet you, because look, if it's a clone, it fits into what's been going on. What's been going on in science fiction lately? Whether it's Battlestar Galactica, whether it's Blade Runner, whether it's Westworld, the idea of who is real, do artificial people and clones have souls, all of these kinds of things. And if Rey confronts herself, come on. I mean, if she finds out that her parents that don't matter because she's a clone. What if you find out that Rey doesn't have parents? Or, you know, she's part of genetic manipulation and she finds out that she was seeded across the galaxy, that there's a bunch of different Reys. I mean, there's so many really interesting science fiction concepts they could go with this, and this film has got to be epic. They've really got to delve into some heady concepts. They've got to make this movie epic, and if Palpatine shows up, whether he's possessing Matt Smith, whatever the hell he's doing, if he shows up with a fleet of Imperial Star Destroyers and like, you know, this First Order stuff's fine, but let me show you how it's done. and we get this film could be epic. It's what this series needs. This never in history has a film needed to stick the landing the way this movie does. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's a lot riding on this film. And we need to see a lot. And what if the clones are Skywalkers? What if it's all part of the Skywalker bloodline? What if the Skywalkers have been the ones, and the rise of Skywalker is you're going to find out that there are hundreds of Skywalkers that are going to be released onto the galaxy that are either going to help it or whatever. And the rise of Skywalker is there's your new power structure. And it's not just one person or two people. It's a generation of cloned Skywalkers that are going to bring balance to the Force and the galaxy. I don't know.
It's an interesting concept here, and we've talked about that before. It is kind of nuts when you're looking at stuff like this. Chris, you see this shot, you see the red lightsabers and all that kind of stuff. What's the first and most likely scenario that pops up in your head?
I mean, I love this clone theory because then we kind of can do a Terry McGinnis situation here, like Batman Beyond, right? Where it's not enough to have the genes and the DNA. You also have to create the environment. So if you want to create a Batman, you got to, murder some parents and set some stuff up. If you want to create an Anakin Skywalker, make sure that kid hates sand,
Hey, I think what's the show, by the way? What the big popular show with the girl where she's got like 20 different clones or
Orphan Black.
Yeah. Orphan Black, yeah. So I like the sound. There's a little bit of an Orphan Black in Star Wars.
That's the first thing I was thinking too. I mean, how do you toughen up a character? you put that character in an environment like you just said, with a backstory that they don't understand. I mean, what is any story? Clone stories, all the way back to the beginning, is they're looking for, I want more life, Father. Who am I? What am I? Why am I
Exactly.
here? And if that's the big reveal, bring it on. By the way, we've probably now just made Rise of Skywalker more interesting than it's actually going to turn out to be. But, I mean, I could see that it fits in with the whole idea of the trilogy. You know, the idea that people are cloned, what does it mean for them? They've delved into this a little with the different clone warriors, the clone officers, the clone troopers. I think it's a great idea, and how shocking would it be if Darkseid, fully realized Rey, comes out and confronts, you know, little I don't know who I am Rey, waiting for my parents on Jakku Rey, when you find out that she was dumped there specifically to mold her to be a certain kind of a person.
Exactly.
How
I think
about
that'd be
that?
so cool.
There's a lot of
be really
possibility. But I just want to throw one other thing here too. I didn't have an image here, but one of the images in the footage they showed was of C-3PO sitting up with his eyes glowing red, which, if you read the Dr. Aphra comics in Star Wars, there's a couple of murderous droids that are basically very much C-3PO and R2-D2, only they're different characters. And their whole desire and programming in life is to be mass murderers and to kill as many people as possible. And he's got the one from Dr. Aphra has the glowing red eyes. Now, this is C-3PO, not that character. But as soon as I saw that, that's immediately where my mind went. It's like, oh, this could be interesting. And we've seen other shots of C-3PO with like weapons and like firing weapons. So I'm just wondering if they're going to go into that batch of programming that's in the Dr. Aphra droid as well. Maybe they could be going into that.
By the
He
way,
is
as
no
an
longer
aside,
made to suffer.
Speaking of murder stories, can we talk about Taika Waititi's IG-11? Because watching him kick some ass and fire those weapons,
the
man,
guns pointing both
I am
way.
in 100%.
So
Sorry, I know
excited.
that has nothing to do with what we're talking about now, but
Yeah.
wow,
Also-
I can't wait.
That's how busy today's been. We haven't even had a
Yeah.
chance to talk Mandalorian. We'll talk Mandalorian in the upcoming future for sure. But question here, guys, is what do you make of this imagery that we see coming out here for Star Wars Episode 9 and Rey with red lightsabers and all that? Are those classic era Star Wars stories? Sure looks like it to me. What do you think about the glowing red as a C-3PO? What do you think about the clone theory? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And I got to agree with Rob. I mean, look, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm a massive Star Wars fan. I like The Last Jedi. It's my least favorite of all the new Star Wars movies, but I like it. But with the divisiveness of The Last Jedi, I mean, they gotta stick to it. They have to. I would go so far as to say that their future plans with Star Wars almost hinge on, it doesn't have to be the best Star Wars movie ever made. It doesn't even have to be as good as the original trilogy. But this better be the best one you've made out of all the new batch. And I love The Force Awakens. Love it. But I think this has got to be better than that. I think they've got to really hammer this down, or else moving forward, they're going to have a hard time. They're going to have a real hard. You put out two big divisive films in a row, you're going to have a hard time moving forward. And I agree with what you just said, Rob. I think they absolutely have to stick this landing. What do you guys think about that? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all that down, there are a few other things in the world of movies and pop culture and entertainment that we need to talk about here, but we don't have time to make them main topics. So we're going to cover them all here in a little segment that we call Buy or Sell. And we're going to start off with this, Rob. I alluded to it earlier. The big Disney Plus presentation was outstanding for Marvel. 3 new shows, a bunch of different announcements, new characters and cast. And then they did the theatrical presentation. We got a release date for a movie we already knew was coming. Kit Harington's going to be in Eternals.
But he's playing the Black
Black
Knight.
Knight.
That is badass.
So they do that, and basically nothing else new. Basically nothing new at it. Do you buy or sell this Disney Marvel presentation at the Disney theatrical thing? Buy or sell it, Rob?
I buy it. 100%. I mean, they were able to look, the fact that Black Knight, who has been in the Avengers, who's been all over the Marvel universe, I just find it interesting that they're introducing him in an Eternals movie, but okay, that's cool. I'm excited. I mean, I didn't think that Marvel had anything more to excite me. And in terms of movies, I understand they gave us a date for Black Panther 2. I understand that they didn't give us Guardians of the Galaxy 3. They didn't give us other things we might not have known. But man, they certainly. I mean, getting a John. All I had to hear was Moon Knight.
Well, that was for the
I
Disney.
know, but I'm just saying, what more can Marvel give me?
Okay, Chris, buy or sell? They're talking about Kit Harington, a release date, and showing some footage from Black Widow. Was that enough to make you buy their presentation at the theatrical part?
I mean, I'd like to buy that presentation, but no one would let me in.
That's
I'm
true.
still very butthurt about it. I'm very, very upset. Get your volunteers together, Disney. Come on, you're a well-oiled machine. I'm excited enough about Black Knight. I mean, that's pretty cool to me. And the other stuff, I don't know if that's worthy of a full presentation, so I guess sell it.
Yeah, I'm going to sell it. I'm sorry. This is D23. You do this only every couple of years. You couldn't have given a little bit more than a release date for a movie you already saw coming, that we already knew was coming, a little bit of footage of a movie that's coming out in just a couple of months, and one more cast being added to a cast that already has a bunch of big names to it. You couldn't have done a little bit more than that.
But they showed Black Widow footage.
That's a nice announcement, not a once every 2 or 3 years event kind of an announcement. I sell that. Sell it, I tell you. We'll see. Okay, next up here. Breaking Bad news here, guys. They dropped the first teaser trailer for El Camino, a Breaking Bad story, as far as, if you want to go with Star Wars titling, stuff like that. It dropped online. A lot of people saw, a lot of people talking about it. Chris, do you buy or sell this new El Camino trailer?
I sell it. I could never get into Breaking Bad. It's bad people doing bad things, and the world is bad enough. I don't enjoy Breaking Bad, so meh.
Woo! I don't hear many people saying that. Rob, buy or sell this thing?
Are you kidding? It is Skinny Pete talking about Jesse Pinkman. This was a secret movie. It was made in secret. It was legendary. People didn't know what was going on, and they just came out and said, ba-bam, during D23. Completely awesome. I buy. I love Breaking Bad.
I really like Breaking Bad, so I sell this. I thought they should have come out with something with a little more oomph. At least show us Jesse Pinkman, the lead character of this thing.
It's a teaser, man.
I'm looking forward to this thing a lot. I am looking forward to a lot. I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit underwhelmed by it, so I'm going to give it a sell. All right, next up, we've got, Joker star Mark Maron has made the news about this. I really thought about making this a main topic, but basically, he in an interview, he started talking about Marvel movies, and he said the following: I generally don't like them because I don't want to be bullied into seeing those. He also mentioned he'd never seen any of them. Look, Conan, he was talking to Conan, obviously. I'm a grown-up. I'm not 7. I think those movies are for grown male nerd childs. I'm a grown-up. I'm not 7. I think those movies are for grown male nerd childs. And obviously that got a lot of response for some people, to which Mark Maron responded and put out on Twitter with all the negative backlash he was getting. Hey, Marvel movie fans, stop acting like outraged religious fanatics defending their belief system. It's okay if I don't believe. Let it go. Also, I'm actually a big fan of a lot of comic art. Try to relax your mainstream asses. All right. I'm a big fan of Mark Maron. I'm going to tell you my buy or sell on his comments. I sell his comments. Listen, Maron, here's the thing. I don't mind saying there's something you don't like. I don't like a lot of anime stuff. I'm not into a lot of anime stuff. There you go. But I just say, it's just not for me. There's stuff that works for different people. It doesn't work for me. I don't come out here and say, I think The Last Airbender is only for, mentally stunted idiots who don't know what the hell is something good or not. No, that would be ridiculous. I just, it's not for me. And Maron, you say, hey, everybody, it's okay if just I don't believe that this stuff is good. But that's not what you said. He came out and called anybody who likes Marvel movies grown male nerd childs. You directly insulted people. It's cool that if you came out and say, I don't like Marvel movies, that's cool. He directly insulted people who do like it. And that's uncalled for, especially when your ignorant moronic ass is about to star in another comic book movie.
Yeah.
It's just a stupid thing to say. I love Mark Maron. I think he's a great comedian. I love him in Glow. I think the dude's fantastic, but this is not his best day. This was an idiotic thing to say. I sell these comments. Chris, you hear these comments. Buy or sell them?
I don't know who pissed in his Cheerios, but what a rude thing to say. You can like something and you cannot like something, and you don't have to be a dick about it. Sell.
Rob?
For the money alone that the MCU is making, I would think that she should show some more respect, because it ain't show friends, it's show business. He's not making any friends here, and he's certainly not doing good business. So I sell him.
Still looking forward to seeing him in the Joker.
Yeah.
It was an idiotic thing for him to say, and his follow-up was even more stupid. All right, Marvel Studios, President Kevin Feige on Spider-Man. It was never meant to last forever. Kevin Feige again was talking a little bit about how, this was never intended to be a permanent situation. We all knew it had a limited time, almost kind of painting it as if, oh yeah, this was all planned all along. Rob, let me ask you, buy or sell this idea that, this thing breaking up really shouldn't catch anybody by surprise?
Well, I'm going to actually buy that because we got 5 movies.
Yeah.
And that's a lot for 5 years. I mean, we got the Avengers movies, we got Civil War, and we got 2 Spider-Man movies. And the fact, remember, when it was first announced that we were going to get Spider-Man at all, that was amazing that we got to have him in Civil War, and that would have been enough. And now it's like, oh, well, we all become so accustomed to everything. One day we're not going to have enough air on the planet because there's going to be no more Amazon. And then we're going to be like, you know what? Air was good.
Air was good.
We should have appreciated it when we had it. We should have taken care of air. But we should also, we had 5 great movies, enjoyed them all, and now Spider-Man's going to go back to defending New York, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to go big and cosmic, and hey, that's awesome. We're going to get the Fantastic Four. What do they need Spider-Man for?
Chris, do you buy or sell this?
I buy it. We all knew that Disney was going to get too hungry. So, I buy it.
I sell it. See, I agree with what you guys are saying, but when you look at the way they structured everything, both narratively and everything as the stories, it just doesn't feel to me like they knew this was going to be it. I believe they knew that eventually it would run out, but I don't buy that they knew or were counting on it coming to an ending just yet. So that's just my take on that. So me personally, I sell that. All right, guys, that will do it for today's little rush round of buy or sell. What do you think about any or all those topics we discussed? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, it's now time for us to get to your live questions. We're going to jump into that in just a second. But before we get to your live questions, and I know a lot of you are going to want to still talk about here about some Rey with red lightsabers, Spider-Man stuff, all that kind of good stuff. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But before we do, we're going to take a quick couple of minute break here, give us a chance to rest the voices, refill our drinks, stretch our legs a little bit. So we're just going to take 3.5 minutes here, and then we'll be right back. We'll see you guys in just a minute. right, and we are back. Thank you guys for your patience as we took a little bit of a break. It's now time for us to go over and take your live questions. You guys have been firing things in, so let's not waste any more time and let's get over to it. All right, first thing up, Nathan Oswald writes, are they legally not allowed to show drinking alcohol in commercials? Where I know that was a rule in Canada for a while, but I believe I've seen beer commercials where people actually take drinks. Do you guys... No, I think they're allowed to do that. I believe at any rate. Am I wrong about that? Do you guys know anything about that?
I don't know.
I did a Lime-A-Rita commercial years ago, and I'm trying to remember if I actually drank in it or if I just cheersed. I think I just cheersed.
I'm not. I mean, you can show drinking
Yeah.
in shows and TV and easy enough, so I don't see why you couldn't put it in commercials.
I know on YouTube sometimes you'll get demonetized or restricted if you have any drinking.
Really?
Yeah, when I used to do Nerdflix and Chill as a review show instead of a live show with a partner, I would have a glass of wine and I'd be drinking. And even though I wouldn't swear or say anything sexual or anything, I had a whole bunch of hits on it, and we just thought that it must be the wine.
It's a good thing they don't see what I actually pour in this glass
Right.
in between
Oof.
shots. All right. Next thing up here is Johnny Wiener writes, gotta say, new stuff for the MCU, not too exciting. Okay, I mean, look, everything's going to hit everybody different. But She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, all the new casting, stuff like that. I don't know. Personally, I think it's super exciting, but hey, it's all subjective. It's not going to be exciting to all of us, Johnny, so no worries, no worries. All right, Jason Ashcroft writes, hey, John, big fan from Utah. Thank you so much, Jason. I am headed to Disneyland in November. How can I ensure I get to Galaxy's Edge? Is there a special pass I need to buy? No. They only had it for the first few weeks that they opened. It was only meant for the first few weeks that you had to get on a special waiting list to get in. It's now just another land in Disneyland. You can just, once you're in Disneyland, you can go into Galaxy's Edge. You can go over to, hop back and forth between California Adventure and Disneyland. All that kind of stuff. There's no special waiting, no special passes, all that kind of stuff. It's just like any other place in the park. So you're totally set, Jason. All right. Christopher Benson writes, I'll be seeing the 40th anniversary release of Alien in October. Nice. Can't wait to see it on a big screen with my mom, who got me hooked on sci-fi movies. Listen, that is seriously one of the most awesome things I get to do and that I love, which is watching Star Wars movies with my mom, because my mom's the one who got me into Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I've never seen Alien on the big screen. Not on the big screen.
That's the only way I've seen it.
It's a little before my time, so I've never had a chance to see it on the big screen, but that would be an awesome experience. If you, Rob, considering your judgmental gasp, Judgy McJudgester over there, you've had a chance to see it?
Judge and Stern. Well, yeah, I mean, I saw it first run, but I've seen it with the director's edition. But I'll tell you, one of the great things about seeing Alien on the big screen, there's nothing like it, because at the end, when the self-destruct mechanism on the Nostromo has been set, it's the strobe lights, and the entire theater strobes, and it's hypnotic and mesmerizing, and it gets you on the edge of your seat. It's a really great experience in the theater, and if it gets re-released, you should go see it.
Chris, have you seen it?
The first and only time I saw Alien was at Cinespia like a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And
That doesn't count.
It was amazing. It's a big screen, Rob.
Well, it's bigger
what
than
more
TV.
do you want?
People make fun of movies there.
I don't.
So I didn't.
Well, it was a bigger
People made fun of
screen.
me because I kept gasping. I didn't see it before.
Yeah, because you'd never seen
I
it
was like,
before.
what's happening?
I've never seen it on the big screen, so that'd be a pretty cool experience for me. All right, where are we at here? Richard Karate writes. Did we... Yes. Richard Karate writes, with Rey shown with a red lightsaber, does Rise of Skywalker mean that Kylo takes on his grandfather's and uncle's name, rises from the darkness back to the light, and becomes Ben Skywalker? I don't believe so at all. No, I think, I've been saying this for a long time, I believe they set Kylo's path permanently. Luke had his, what I called, come to Jesus moment in the Emperor's throne room on the second Death Star. Now strike down your father and take his place at my side. That was his moment. And he had a saber up ready to strike him. And his moment was turn off the saber, throw it away, say, no, I'm a Jedi like my father. That defined Luke. Now, he still struggled, but that was his definition there at that point. Kylo had his moment, and it was on that inexplicably railless walkway over the giant chasm, standing there with his father Han, where he could have gone with him or cut him down, and he made his choice. He decided to cut him down. He also had another time, knowing that his mother and the Resistance were in the caves there, he decided to blast it and try to destroy it. Anyway, he's had several moments. They've set him up. I like Rob's theory that the Rise of Skywalker is not, like, my initial theory about Rise of Skywalker is that Jedi are now going to be known as Skywalkers. and that it was going to be a rise of this new order, and they're going to be known as the Skywalker. But Rob's theory here about how the Skywalkers are actually going to be a line of clones, and this is the rise of, and it's an evil connotation, not a good one. That's fascinating too. But no, Retro, I got to say, I don't think this hints at all at Kylo becoming a good guy and becoming Ben Kenobi again. Becoming Ben Solo again. I don't see that happening myself. Do you guys see any chance of that happening?
He's irredeemable.
Yeah.
Once you kill Han Solo and your own father in cold blood for no reason, we still haven't seen a compelling reason. I understand Luke drew a lightsaber above his head and he became a disciple of Snoke or whatever. But I want to know more about his path and the Knights of Ren and how he wound up where he wound up. And by the way, I think the rise of Skywalker is a good thing. I think the rise of I think that people like Rey, the whole point was to force that Skywalker bloodline to rise up, and that's why they put Rey in the situation. What's happening to her is what was supposed to happen. She's being forged like steel in the fires of life. And I think when these other Skywalkers rise, it's only a good thing for the galaxy.
Can we just talk real quick, though, about how everyone who's a Sith or on the dark side looks like they need iron supplements so bad? Why is everyone so gaunt and anemic?
Yeah, kind of true. Chris Benson writes, so now Happy loses Tony and Aunt May. Bummer. Poor Hap. Poor Hap. Looks like he's just going to be rubbing one out on the Stark plane. All right, Big Poppy writes, will Sony still be able to make Spider-Verse animated movies or even live-action TV shows that they were planning on doing as well? As far as I know, yeah, they can still make movies, even animated ones, but they can't make TV shows. As far as I know, they cannot make TV shows, animated or live action. So do you guys know anything else outside of that? As far as I know, they can't TV shows, period.
I don't believe they can
Now,
at all.
so probably that Lord and Miller TV project they were working on is probably down the drain. Probably, but we don't know all the details. We'll have to wait and find out more. All right, Initial D's writes, 1 of 3. JC, you became my first ever Patreon this weekend. Oh, thank you so much, Initial. I appreciate that, man. Now, while I appreciate the quality of your show, no offense, I don't watch every day for your production value. It's in no way annoying or an inconvenience that you handle basic human needs. I think we'll all watch and listen to you and your panel to be entertained and educated. Whatever you need to do to be at your best, we support and understand. That being said, I know you will continue to apologize every time, but I thought you should hear that. Also, hello, Chris and Rob. Hope you all have a great day. Well, thank you so much, Initial. I do the broadcast from a hotel room in Anaheim, and I apologize deeply for the lack of production value or the fact that, hey guys, for me to talk for 2 hours without regular commercial breaks every 10 minutes like other television or radio personalities have, I need to keep the throat lubricated, or else I just absolutely die. But I still apologize for that. I apologize.
Easy, Rob.
When I have to turn on the AC, it's like, I'm sorry guys, I know you don't want to hear this sound in the background and all that kind of stuff. But when I have to turn on the AC and stuff like that, but I appreciate it, Initial, when people like you will say that there's no need for that. But I'm Canadian. It's in my DNA to say sorry. It's just kind of in my DNA. So, anything you guys want to add to that?
Nope.
I'm a Texan. I don't apologize. I'm like, I'm going to go piss right now. Calm down.
Why are
y'all
boot.
like that?
All right, let's move on here then. Thanks for that, Initial. I appreciate that, man. And thanks for becoming a Patreon supporter, dude. All right, ZMG Ruler writes, could Holland Spidey's hop to another dimension? I mean, you could, but even in saying that, you're still irrecoverably saying it's tied to the MCU. It's just a different dimension now. And I think they're just going to have to separate that. So I don't think they're going to say he's hopping into a different dimension. I'm just going to think they're going to move on as if the rest doesn't exist. Just like Highlander 3 did to Highlander 2 and works. I kind of think it's possible. It's possible, but I think that's the way they're going to do it. Jonathan Teff sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, Jonathan, for supporting the channel on that level. Did you talk to Rob about Please Stand By starring Dakota Fanning? If he hasn't seen it, I'm pretty sure he would love it. You can tell the writers and the director really get Star Trek and use it to tell a great story. As a matter of fact, Rob and I went out to lunch the other day, and I very specifically said, oh, by the way, Rob, somebody brought up on the show, have you seen this? What's it called? Please Stand By. And Rob, I'll let you answer that.
Well, I have now seen Please Stand By.
Oh, because you hadn't seen it when you and I talked.
I had not, and I saw it actually over the weekend. I was taken aback by just how delightful it is. It's a wonderful film, and if you're a Star Trek fan, it bummed me out that I hadn't thought of it actually. And having worked in that space before in my own life, I feel like Please Stand By in my own movie are these forgotten Star Trek homages that maybe are ripe for re-examination.
Some people forget you actually directed William Shatner in a feature film.
And Eric McCormack. Two
Yeah,
Emmy
that's right.
Award
And Eric
winners.
McCormack,
Two
that's
Emmy
right.
Award winners. Yeah, and wrote for him. I wrote the script too, along with Mark Altman. And Please Stand By is it's not just a great movie if you're a Star Trek fan. It's a great movie if you grew up a nerd too, and that you felt sort of alone. I feel like all of this in the post-geek, I call it the post-geek singularity, but we're all like nerds that grew up and sort of made good, and we're all talking to you nerds that all grew up and made good as well, or are making good right now. And this film, if you have not just Star Trek, but if you love genre material, this is a delightful movie, and I'm sorry that not a lot more people saw it. It's really good.
Yeah, I got to see it myself because the whole premise of it sounds great. And
You'll really
Chris,
like it.
Yeah, so Rob directed it was your feature film debut, right?
It's the only film I've directed.
Feature film that he did, Free Enterprise, and he actually had William Shatner star in the film, and
Phil Lamar, Deborah Van Valkenburg from The Warriors, Eric McCormack, Shatner.
it's just amazing that you actually directed William Shatner.
Yeah, I wrote and edited the film too.
Which is
I squeaked so high that only dogs in Burbank heard me. I would introduce myself that way. I'd just be like, "Hi, I'm Rob. I've directed Will Shatner. Hi, nice to meet you." Like,
I did that,
What?
but I did it for the first 10 years.
Okay, all right.
Then I
and it got
stopped.
old. Then it got old.
I'm ancient history now.
All right, next up, Slim Trav writes, the Therese rant is the best John Campea show rant. Don't at me. Yeah, he actually wrote me and asked me for my phone number. And I decided, nah. I don't just give out I don't just give out my phone number. I was writing with him like if you want to have a chat with me, you can write to me. I don't have to give you my phone number. But anyway, yeah. And I stand by everything. I still believe everything I said in that rant. I completely do. All right, KW Garrett 83 writes, Sony got Spider-Man rights in 1998 for just $7 million. I know hindsight is 2020 and Marvel was broke, but wow, Sony declined all MCU characters for $25 million. I have heard that before, but I've heard some people refute that as well. So basically the legend is this, is that when Sony acquired Spider-Man's rights for Marvel, who was going bankrupt at the time, there was another proposal made where they were to acquire at least all the catalog that was still available, because some had been licensed out to other people as well, but to acquire all the rest of their property for around $25 million. I've heard some people refute that to say, I've heard different stories. I've heard that did happen, only the number was much larger. I've heard that not in the billions of dollars, but that it was larger than $25 million. I've heard that never actually happened. The Spider-Man thing was the only thing. So I'm not sure. But honestly, Rob, when you look back at that, it's easy to think of these things in hindsight, right? It's easy in hindsight to look at that. But yeah, I mean, Marvel, a lot of people still write to me to say, why did Marvel ever sell the rights to Spider-Man? Because they had to. It's like, why did you sell your favorite guitar when you were in college? Because I didn't have rent money. So I had to sell my guitar. I don't know. Rob, what do you think?
Well, people don't remember, because we live in a world now since 2000. It's been almost 2 decades that we've had these very satisfying comic book movies. But before then, the only comic book movie that Marvel had that was worth anything was Blade. Yeah. And that was like this one-off small character that was not seen as part of the larger cinematic universe. And Spider-Man wasn't exactly, Canon Films had tried to get Spider-Man off the ground, and people were laughing at the idea of making a big budget Spider-Man movie, because it wasn't even in people's wheelhouse that you could make a Spider-Man movie that the general audience would go and see and not laugh at. Mm-hmm. And $7 million to acquire that character, the rights, is a huge number to get the rights for anything. And so, the world has changed.
You think about it in those terms, though, Chris. It's hard to wrap our head around it today with those numbers, but it is what it is. Like when you hear that sort of thing, you remember how much it was sold for. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I mean, it completely makes sense. I immediately think of nerdy, closeted Chris, who was just like, I can't show anyone my X-Men cards. They'll think I'm such a loser. Like, people were making these bets on superhero franchises and stuff with no possible good outcome at the moment, you know? Like,
Yeah.
no one really thought that superhero movies were viable. I was going to weird, shady comic book places in Conroe so my friends wouldn't see me. It wasn't until college people knew how, like, nerdy I was.
Lauren Schuler Donner did not even go to the Ellis Island premiere
That's right.
of X-Men
Yeah.
because she was so convinced the movie would fail.
Mm-hmm.
The movie's own producer, because she didn't understand, she thought it should be more like a comic book.
Yep.
And they went a different direction, and history was made. I still say to this day that first X-Men movie is the true father of all the comic book genre
Oh,
today. It's
100%.
all thanks to that first
That
X-Men
opening
movie.
scene.
Yeah. Oh, still maybe the best scene in comic book movie. One of the best scenes of comic book
And
movie
Wolverine's
history.
introduction as a pit fighter up in Canada,
Canada,
your
that's
home
right.
world.
All right, Jonathan Teft writes, Chris, have you seen the movie Your Name and A Silent Voice? They are two of my favorite Japanese animated movies. You all need to see these if you haven't. I think I've seen Your Name. That's the one
I've
where they
seen
do
Your
the
Name.
body swapping,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. That was a nice
Your
little
Name
film.
is really, really great. I haven't seen the other one, though. What was that again?
The other one was
A
called
Si-
A Silent Voice, which
A
I've not
Silent
heard of
Voice.
myself. I haven't heard of that one.
I have not heard of that one. I'll have to check it out, though.
Rob, have you heard of A Silent
No,
Voice?
but I'm dying to see Your Name, and
Yeah,
I've
it's
been
quite
waiting
good.
to get an
Good.
American release of that.
Yeah, Your Name is actually really, really quite good.
J.J. Abrams has the remake rights.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. S. Beam writes, paraphrasing Spaceballs, Wylon, the Disney Plus. Paraphrasing Spaceballs, Wylon, the Disney Plus website, waiting for launch. We're at now / go to then, when, then, now, when they're fast forwarding through the VHS
Oh.
tape. I'm not sure what you mean by the first part, but then you're referring to where they're going through Spaceballs, the movie on VHS. Now I can't. Why? We'll miss it. When? Not now. When will then be now? Soon, as said by Colonel. One of the best delivered lines by Colonel Sanders in that whole movie is soon. And it is such a good thing. And yeah, it is. Look, November 12th. Hey, look, I was going to be a first day adopter of Disney Plus anyway, but they showed stuff there. And we've all understandably been talking about the MCU stuff. We've been talking about Mandalorian, completely understandably. But I'll tell you what, they got some really interesting stuff lined up there. Because I'll tell this, first of all, Forky Asks a Question. They showed us footage from Forky Asks a Question, which is, of course, Forky from Toy Story 4 has his own show now. It's Forky Asks a Question. They showed a clip of him asking, what is money? And they bring in Ham, the piggy bank, to discuss about what money is. It looks really cool. I can't wait to see it. But then they showed they showed footage, and they had Jeff Goldblum come out on stage. And
Oh,
we knew
man.
they were doing a show with Jeff Goldblum. It's called The World According to Jeff Goldblum. The best way I can describe it is Adrian Bourdain?
Bourdain, yeah.
Bourdain's No Reservations.
Anthony Bourdain's.
Anthony
Yeah.
Bourdain's, sorry. No Reservations. But instead of just food, it's just Jeff Goldblum goes, I think of things that really interest me, and we go around and examine it. So one is about sneakers. One is about how they make ice cream, which right there, I'm signing up for Disney Plus.
Me too.
But
I'm
then
right there with you.
One is synchronized swimming. Here's things I wonder about. So he goes and does synchronized swimming. And I'm watching, and at first I'm like, this is odd. But then as I'm watching the footage play out, I'm just like, I want to watch this show.
Yep.
I totally am down for this show. They've got a number of things coming out on this channel that look really, really good, and I'm sold on it.
By the way, just to ask you, the thing that nobody's talking about is Gina Carano, right? For
Mandalorian?
Mandalorian.
For Mandalorian, was on the red carpet. And I don't know if she's being interviewed by Variety. It's something I watched last night. And she says, I'm just really excited for everybody to see the surprise. And the interviewer was like, what surprise? You know, the surprise in the show. No one is saying anything about this. I was watching this going, what does this mean? And I haven't seen anybody, and I'm like, that was another, it was at the right after the presentation, it was her being interviewed. And I think she realized when she said it, she wasn't supposed to say it.
Well, I mean,
What do you, did you get a sense that, is the Mandalorian a girl, John? Is it not really Pedro
well,
Pascal?
no, it's Pedro. It's
Is it?
Pedro. Yes, it's Pedro. But I go into now every show. Like, somebody had this stupid argument with me once saying there's a spoiler in the movie in and of itself is a spoiler. It's like every show and every movie has some twist. That's the whole mechanisms of storytelling, is when something happens unexpectedly that alters the direction of the narrative as we understood it, to either us as the audience or they as the characters. It's in every TV show or movie. So when I hear a character say there's a big surprise in the movie, I just assume every movie has a big surprise, right? To some degree. I will say this, though. Gina Carano on stage was adorable, because she was just like, I'm in a Star Wars thing. Like, she's just free. Let's face it. I adore Gina Carano. The greatest actress in the world, she is not. But she has certain tools she brings a great physical presence. She can do a lot of badass stuff on screen. You bring her in there, she can do it. I mean, I loved her in the first Deadpool. Because she brings that real, legitimate physical presence to a movie. But seeing her on stage bouncing up and down like a 5-year-old kid, I gotta say, was pretty adorable.
By the way, for Disney Plus, I don't even watch Lizzie McGuire. I've never seen an episode of Lizzie McGuire. But when they introduced the show, they're talking about how I don't know who's the guy, the announcer man, saying all this.
The chairman for Disney Plus.
The chairman for Disney Plus comes out, and the way he gave this presentation, and then when he brings out Hilary Duff and everyone went bananas, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what Rob's talking about, he comes out and goes, okay, we are bringing back Lizzie McGuire, which I don't give two squirts of piss about, but everybody else seemed really excited about it. So Lizzie McGuire. And then he up on stage, he goes, in finding somebody to play Lizzie, and they start bringing up all these photos of young child girl actresses, right? He goes, we searched internationally, and we did this, trying to find the person who embodies Lizzie McGuire. And then they go, we just realized nobody does it better than Hilary Duff. So they just brought back out Hilary Duff. So now Lizzie McGuire, for those of you that care, I'm not one, but many of you do. It's Lizzie McGuire is about to turn 30. And she's now in her career. She lives in New York City and is still this person. Look, I don't care about Lizzie McGuire at all. Not in the least. But even I sat back and went, that's a pretty cool idea. What they just did and the way they presented it. It was a pretty neat idea. Are you interested in Lizzie McGuire at all, Chris?
I'm so excited.
Okay,
so
there you go.
I'm really, really pumped. I am the nerdiest of my female friends. Most of them, aside from like Whitney at Nerdwire and Megs, do not read comics, do not go see the Marvel movies. My best friend Kendall, I had to make her watch Star Wars with me once, and she talked through it.
Oh, that's a
and I still love her so
deal
much.
breaker.
I got so many texts while I was in D23 of, holy shit, Lizzie McGuire, are you in there right now? Blah, 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 blah. Like, just people losing their GD minds over this. So I think this is going to be such a fun show. I'm so excited. I grew up with Lizzie McGuire, and Hilary Duff is a good Texas girl as well. So I got to support her.
I'm throwing this out because of Hulu. Now Disney owning Hulu. Mm-hmm. Veronica Mars, Lizzie McGuire team up. Crossover.
Veronica Mars just has the little Lizzie McGuire cartoon show up, and it's
no.
Hey.
Like now that she's 30, they
interact.
They interact somehow. Lizzie McGuire comes into Veronica Mars's world.
I'll tell you what. You know how Mark Maron, we were just talking about on the show, had a big reaction to everybody complaining about, because he basically insulted everybody who likes. But I write, because I don't know squat about Lizzie McGuire. I don't give like I said, 2 drops of urine for Lizzie McGuire. I don't care. It's not for me. But as they made that announcement, I tweeted out, apparently Hilary Duff is still going to be voicing Lizzie McGuire. Well, fuck me. At that point, my Twitter blows up. John! She's not just voicing Lizzie McGuire. It's not an animated show, you Neanderthal. How dare you? And I was like, whoa. Because I
did have that knee-jerk reaction. I'm so sorry for all those DMs.
And by the way, can we talk about something else that no one has mentioned?
What's that?
The Rocketeer. There's a new animated Rocketeer series.
It's a new animated Rocketeer
They didn't mention that at D23.
There was a clip for it on the internet, and I'm like, where is anybody talking about this new little girl Rocketeer character? Mm-hmm. And I was telling Elizabeth, my girlfriend, about it, and she's like, what's the Rocketeer? I'm like, what's the Rocketeer? So I pulled out my Blu-ray, and we watched it. And by the way, that movie holds up. What a delightful, wonderful movie.
It's a fun movie.
And there's a new Rocketeer series. And I was like, wow.
I had a Rocketeer cosplayer be kind of rude to me.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I went, hey, dude, your costume is so rad. I love the Rocketeer. And he looked at me and went, yeah, I know. And rolled his eyes and walked away from me. Cosplayers are usually so much cooler than that.
Is it possible? Maybe you just read him wrong.
No, because I was with Logan too, and he was like, "Whoa, cool, dude. Okay."
There's nothing like look. People
I mean, if he was playing
cosplay.
Han Solo, I would have been okay with it. But
I say this in all love because my
Yeah.
wife is a very active cosplayer, right? And so I say this in love. Cosplayers are dying for attention. Part of the reason
Yeah.
they cosplay is so people will stop them and say, or appreciate and enjoy the costume they've put together.
Exactly.
I can't imagine why somebody get cosplay would be turned off by somebody stopping them to compliment
I
their
don't know.
cosplay.
Maybe he thought I wasn't being sincere, but I mean, I always
Yeah, maybe he
sound like
thought
a
you were being
manic depressive
sarcastic.
Piccolo. I'm very happy.
A manic depressive
Depressive
piccolo.
piccolo.
Yeah, I think that's what my pitch sounds like.
Is
That
that
guy-
like the HR Puffin stuff? They had the talking
Yeah.
flute or whatever. But
Yeah. I think
wow,
I just
I'd love
sound
to see
like
the
a
Marvin
weird
the paranoid
woodwind.
android of piccolos.
We got to keep rolling here. We got to keep rolling. Andres Martinez writes, when Ewan came out, I wanted him to say, hello there. Look, I will tell you this.
Oh, that would have been the best.
The highlight of the D plus presentation wasn't She-Hulk, Moon Knight, sorry, or Ms. Marvel. It wasn't The World According to Jeff Goldblum. It wasn't any of that. The highlight, number one, the pop in the room when Kathleen Kennedy said, we can now stop with all the misinformation and the fibs and the denials. Obi-Wan is coming to Disney Plus, and Ewan McGregor's picture comes up, and then they announce, and I want to now introduce Obi-Wan himself. Ewan McGregor, he comes out. The place lost their mind.
Well, that's not exactly how it went down, because Ewan McGregor said to Kathleen Kennedy,
No. This is before he came on stage. Right? And then once he came on stage, the highlight of that entire presentation was Ewan McGregor with his microphone going, Kathy. She goes, yes, Ewan? He's holding his mic. Ask me if I'm going to play Obi-Wan again. And the whole crowd cheers, right? It dies down. Kathleen Kennedy goes, Ewan, are you going to play Obi-Wan again? And you have to understand the way he did it. He's like looking at Kathy with his mic and then turns to the audience. Yes. And the place went
Yeah.
nuts. Like, I understand a lot of people wanted to say, hello there, which I don't think is one of the better Obi-Wan lines, to be honest with you. But just the way he did it, yes. It was so good. And you could see the unbridled joy in his face about it. He was legit. I mean, look, everybody going up on the stage has to look excited about what they're doing. But there was a Gina Carano kind of undeniable, legitimate excitedness about him, about being able to come out and say, I'm playing Obi-Wan again.
didn't they say that the scripts have already been written?
Yep, scripts are written.
So he's
scripts are done.
probably read the scripts, which
Yes.
makes him. I'm sure that's why he's signed on.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. So, it was such a great moment, guys. This is I wish everybody could have been in there again. Alyssa Rodriguez writes, thoughts on Imagine Dragons? I like Imagine Dragons. I mean, I'm not big on all of their music, and I'm not well versed in all their music, but I like Imagine Dragons. War Machine Rocks writes, really enjoyed Ready or Not, although the camera was a bit shaky at times. The whole theater was laughing throughout, and it's a pleasant surprise. Ann and I still haven't seen it. We wanted to go see it this weekend, but we couldn't with the D23 stuff. Then we wanted to go tonight, but Ann's got a dance class, came up with some friends of hers, and she hasn't been able to do that with a while. I might, you know what? I think we're going to go without her. I was supposed to see this last week, and I couldn't. I may just go by myself and go watch Ready or Not, because I've always thought from the day one that I saw the first trailer, I thought it looked amazing. I'm going to go see that damn thing tonight. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, one of two. If Spider-Man leaves the MCU, and it's now looking like that's pretty much a done deal, I don't think it will be very hard to carry on without him. He's basically just a glorified side character. The only characters that he's really affected is Tony. There are so many characters who don't even know who he is. He's actually introducing himself to a bunch of them in the battle at Endgame. Yeah, the battle at Endgame was actually the first time most of these people had ever seen or heard of him. But that's going, Jonathan, right back to what we were all talking about earlier, right? Like, most of the characters in the MCU have either zero interaction with Spider-Man, a few minutes worth of interaction with Spider-Man, or at most a few hours of interaction with Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. The guy he had his deepest connection to is now gone and out. Even one of the characters who actually at least had a conversation with in Captain America, he's now gone. Honestly, the character, aside from Happy, the honest character, top-level character that he still has any semi-significant connection with is Doctor Strange. because of their time on the ship in Infinity War and all that kind of stuff. But other than that,
You could
I mean, I
maybe
think
argue Captain Marvel for a hey Peter Parker,
that's right.
which
They
is
met.
like the cutest thing.
That's right. He goes, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker." Hey, Peter Parker. I love the way Bree says that.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, quick thought: we were flipping through the channels yesterday and came across the first 21 Jump Street movie. How freaking awesome is that movie? But I
love
totally
that
forgot Brie
movie.
Larson was in that. It was like, "Hey, Peter Parker." But that was the extent of their interaction. Like, I mean, we're still sticking with this, right? Like, this isn't going to affect the MCU that much at all, right?
I don't think so.
No? Yeah, I don't think so. Jonathan, I think you're absolutely right about that. I think you're absolutely right. All right, let's see here. Benny95 writes, I'm confused. Sony's now saying Spider-Man 3 will continue the story from Far From Home. Does this mean Sony/Venom are basically a part of the MCU now? No. Look, whatever it is they're saying now, I think we're hearing just a few. I think it's going to take several pages of explanation and not several words of explanation. They're going to continue on in the sense that it's going to be Peter, Zendaya's MJ, Ned Bartolone's, or not Ned. What's Ned's the actor's first name? I can't remember his first name, but Bartolone is his last name. Filipino kid is going to play Ned. All these characters are still coming over. He's in high school. They're going to carry on with that. They're not going to carry on with the MCU as a whole. They're going to take what elements they have that can be easily divorced from the MCU and carry on with those aspects. I think that's the easiest explanation. Rob, do you see any other way that they could go about that?
No, I think it's look, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. I mean, what's so weird is we used to have Spider-Man movies and things without the MCU, and now to think that, we can't have a Spider-Man movie again. Spider-Man, whatever his adventure is going to be, if Kraven comes and hunts him down, and it takes, that's going to be a storyline that lasts 3 or 4 days. I mean, we don't always have to call in our whole family when we lead our lives. Sometimes we lead our lives on our own. We have adventures on our own. That's what's going to happen. It's not going to be a big deal.
All right, let's move on here. Next up is JB Bonifacio, who writes, if you like Rhea, you'll love The Last Airbender. One of the, if not the best thing, other than the Rey lightsaber thing, out of that entire Disney theatrical presentation was Rhea. I knew almost nothing about Rhea and The Last Dragon. I knew almost nothing about it, and before they even showed one frame of footage, just watching the director and storyteller on stage, her telling the story about how she came to make this character, the mythology and the background, the 5 kingdoms in this mythical world created by dragons that are now gone and that left a precious treasure to help mankind and blah, blah, and now Dark Force involving. I'm sitting there listening to this and I'm like, nothing else has excited me today. Because remember, they hadn't shown the Rey light. Oh, no, they had, but that was clearly the biggest thing. But other than that, as far as all the other movie stuff, nothing else has excited me as much as Rhea and The Last Dragon. And then they showed footage, and I got even more on board. I didn't get a Last Airbender feel from it. I mean, granted, I haven't watched Last Airbender, but I didn't get that feel. Have you seen any of the Rhea footage or stuff like that, Chris?
I haven't yet. I need to. I can see the parallels between, the mythical last beings and things like that, and the epic quests and everything, because we have Aang, who is the last of his kind at the time of Last Airbender. I don't know. I have to watch the footage. Yeah, I mean, I still stand by it's a really great show. I don't know if you'd like it though, John, because you're,
Me.
And it's okay if you don't.
But I'm telling you guys, watch this Rhea and The Last Dragon. It looks awesome. I'm so excited about it. I cannot wait to see this.
Awkwafina is having a moment.
Oh yeah, she's blown up right now with The Favorite, Crazy Rich Asians, all this other kind of stuff. Okay. Leo, just a couple more, and then we're going to let you guys go. Leo Milman writes, buy a rent, lose one. Black Klansman, 25th hour, do the right thing. Woo! Buy Black Klansman, rent, do the right thing, lose 25th hour. Not that I want to lose any of them, but Rob, how would you answer that?
Oh, I would buy buy Do the Right Thing.
That's
Rent
great.
Black
That's so
Klansman
good.
and lose 25th hour. I mean, Do the Right Thing is a seminal film, not just in Spike Lee's career, but in all of independent cinema in the later half of the 20th century.
Chris?
I've only seen Black Klansman, but I own it. Does that count?
I just love Black Klansman so much.
Oh, so good.
All right, David Tapia writes, does the Spider-Man deal impact Tom Holland in What If? The funny thing is, I never heard them mention him in that. But if it's already done and produced, probably not. So I don't think so, because it's an animated television series. It's a what if thing. So I don't see them precluding him doing that. If worst case scenario, they just have to get somebody else other than Tom Holland that sounds like Tom Holland to do the voice of it. It's not a big deal. Leo Milmet writes, buy, rent, lose one, 1976, Cabaret, West Side Story. Keep Cabaret, rent West Side Story, lose 1776, Rob?
That's rough, man. But I'm gonna go with you. Cabaret, because it's Bob Fosse, is one of my favorite directors. West Side Story in 1776. I got to rent West Side Story, but 1776 I can take it.
By the way, there's been some chatter about another Cabaret coming, but that's a side thing. Chris, you got any of these?
I'm the same as you guys, even though Mr. Feeney's in 1776. Gotta go.
All right, next up, Leo Milmet writes, buy, rent, lose, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Raging Bull. This is, the top two are easy. I'm just in which order. Okay, I'm going to buy Goodfellas, rent Taxi Driver, lose Raging Bull. Right, Rob?
Yeah.
Oh God, that's you know what? I've got to buy Taxi Driver, rent
Hard not to.
Goodfellas, and lose Raging Bull.
Chris?
I would buy Goodfellas, rent Taxi Driver, lose Raging Bull.
All right. Let's see. Leo writes, please tell Anne I want Porgstagram back in action. Oh, she'll love hearing that. So Anne created an Instagram account called Porgstagram, where she would take porgs and just take various pictures with porgs all around Los Angeles. And it was actually getting kind of popular. So she stopped doing it, but maybe she should get back into action with that. Leo also writes, sit down, John, sit down. Oh, wait, you're already sitting down, but someone ought to open up a window, for it's hot as hell in Palm Springs right now. I don't know what that's a reference to. Do any of you guys get
That's a play on the opening of 1776, amazing movie.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah, I'm not the song and dance man, so
Not the
I know West Side Story and Cabaret. I do not know 1776.
And then Leo points out that's a play on the opening of 1776 amazing movie. It's been a while since I watched it, though. Benny 95 writes, just started Breaking Bad for the first time. Ooh, see, I always get jealous of people who get to watch something that's really great, whether it's a movie or TV show, and they haven't watched it for the first time, because watching it again for the first time is something we can never do. So that is, you're in for a good ride, man. Benny also follows up with, when is it okay to talk spoilers of a TV show / film on true events? Example, I want to send a question on Mindhunter season 2 finale, but it might ruin it for others, etc. Man, that's an interesting question. Like, for movies, it's pretty clearly defined. Generally speaking, you wait till the movie has left theaters and has been on home video for at least a little bit. Because if somebody hasn't watched it by then they're clearly not all that interested in watching it. TV, it's a little tougher. I mean, you at least maybe got to wait till a few months after the end of the season. But when it's a TV or movie based on real events, like, when can you say that at the end of Titanic, the Titanic sinks?
But also, the main
What?
characters are amalgamations. They're loosely based on real people.
This isn't really a true story. It's a fictitious story based around true events.
Yeah, the events are real, but the main characters are not.
So it's hard to say. I would just say, Benny, use this. And then what makes it even more difficult is when it's a show like Mindhunter Season 2 on Netflix, where it just all dropped at once. A bunch of people watch it in the first 2 days. Some people, it's going to take them 5-6 months to get through it all. I mean, it's a good question, Benny. I love that you asked it. I just don't have a good answer for it yet. Do either of you want to take a crack at it? Because I don't know what the answer to that is.
The internet's always mad at me about spoilers for my videos, so I clearly haven't cracked the code on that one, even though I put a spoiler warning on everything, verbally and written.
Yeah.
But I'm still ruining people's lives, so what do I know?
Yeah, it's hard to say. That's a very specific scenario, Ben, that we don't have to talk about very often, but it's something we should probably delve into. It's a great question, dude. Joe Hill writes, the transition from movies to TV or vice versa is notoriously difficult. What are the biggest obstacles for Kevin Feige producing this switch for Marvel? I feel like pacing might be an issue. Thanks. Here's the thing, Joe. And I want to know what you guys think about this. This kind of came up the other day. We should not think of these upcoming MCU things on Disney Plus in the same terms of traditional television. this is really different. It's not even the same as in terms of Netflix. I mean, somebody wrote in the other day and asked, gosh, like, should we worry that, these shows won't get season 2 like we always have to worry about Netflix shows? And I said, well, here's the thing. We shouldn't look at these MCU shows as traditional television. I don't think they're planning on a WandaVision season 2.
Nope.
I don't think they're even looking at this as season 1. Mm-hmm. This is, how do they describe Chernobyl? It's a
miniseries.
They're not even calling it miniseries anymore. Now, limited series.
Oh, limited
That's
series.
the new popular terminology. Mm-hmm. Limited series. Where you almost have to look at these as episodic movie events. Mm-hmm. It's not the tradition. Like, I think Lizzie McGuire is going to be season 1, then they'll do season 2 probably. But this MCU stuff does not strike me as being traditional television, and we can't look at it in terms of traditional television. These are movie events being done in an episodic way over 6 episodes, and each one of these will be 6 episodes long. So understanding that, I think Kevin Feige is approaching these series just like that. I think he's just approaching these as movie events. Mm-hmm. I think each one of these things is being approached as movie events. So I don't think that transition, which you so accurately point out, that is traditionally a difficult thing. But I don't think that transition comes into play here. Rob, what do you think about that?
I completely agree with you. I mean, these are... Look, television is no longer what television used to be. A show like Mindhunter, while it is episodic, I mean, it feels like a movie. I mean, and a lot of the kind of entertainment that we're getting is in sort of a... Remember, network television was also based around commercials. So as soon as they're making shows like Mindhunter, all of the Netflix streaming shows are not taking commercials into consideration. There's no commercial breaks in them. They're not built to have commercial breaks. They're built to be... They don't even have to be stuck to one time frame. Some shows are 45 minutes, some shows are 47 minutes. Mm-hmm. I mean, even within the same show, each episode has a different length. And so it's really different. And I think that, if anything, even the way the shows are made are a hybrid of television and movies. And they're episodic, but I think even when people are filming them, but they do have different writers. They still are episodic as far as how they're made, but they feel of a singular piece. So I think that's what we're seeing an evolution.
Do you think there's anything there they need to worry about a transition from movies MCU to TV MCU here, Chris?
I really don't. I feel like this is going to be a pretty smooth process, especially since they are doing the weekly episodic distribution here and not doing a full binge where they dump everything at once. Because we saw pacing issues with shows like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and all of those.
Well, they were also just bad shows.
Jessica Jones was good.
Yeah, I didn't
especially
like it.
season 1. Come on, my boy David
Season 1
Tennant.
was really good,
It was
man.
really good. But we run into pacing problems on shows like that, or even Lost in Space had length issues where you could have whittled that show down. It would have been a much more effective show, in my opinion. But I think here, because they are being cognizant of releasing their shows episodically, weekly, and then immediately tying it into the bigger picture here, that it's a whole different animal.
All right, and with that, guys, you guys have been very patient. You guys have stayed way longer than you normally do, so thanks for hanging in there with all of us. At this point, we're going to let Rob and Chris go on and do the things they need to do today. We're going to continue answering questions here for the next little bit, but first of all, writer, producer, director, editor, friend to the woodland creatures and all things in between, the great and the wonderful Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett.
Wow, John.
Robert, where can people find you online?
Trying to get my head smaller after that. You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and its adjacent website, theburnettwork.net.
And the high lordess of all those aforementioned woodland creatures, of the wonderful and delightful Chris Carr. Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me online on Instagram and Twitter at actor Chris Carr, or you can watch my videos over at Nerdwire. Today I'll be live on Nerdwire at 3 p.m. with my husband Logan talking about D23.
And thank you so much, guys, for both of you being here. And we will see both of you again. Rob, we'll see you tomorrow. Chris, we will see you on Wednesday. So thank you, guys. All right, guys, with that down, we're going to keep things moving here. We got a bunch more questions to get through, so let's keep on rolling here for another few minutes. And we're going to pick things up here with Joe Hill. No, that was Joe Hill. Sorry about that, Joe. Joe Hill, also then followed up too. What obstacles do you see facing Marvel Studios while they expand to streaming over the next few years, how does this change the MCU? Honestly, I don't think this changes the MCU much. I think they're really looking at this expansion into Disney Plus as just an extension of what they're already doing. The challenge is going to be the sheer scale of production now that they have going. Because when you look at all the stuff they now have coming in the next 2 years, it's now 13 things they've got coming in the next 2 years. That's almost 7 things per year. So the challenge isn't going to be the differentiating between what's on Disney Plus and what's on the big screen in the theaters. I don't think that's going to be an issue. The issue and the challenge is going to be the sheer magnitude of the scale, how much they're trying to accomplish. That's going to be the big thing here. And that's the thing that it's going to be interesting to see that they're able to now. Are they getting too far ahead of themselves? Are they trying to produce too much? There could be an argument here they're trying to produce too much at this point. Whether that's true or not, we'll find out soon enough. All right, BMC writes, so Anthony Mackie put a lot of rumors to rest in an interview saying he's not the new Captain America. I kind of figured, but glad he cleared it up. It'll be interesting. Again, at this point, I don't know what to believe from any of them at this point. Either the things that they are saying, confirming, or the things that they're denying. I'm not totally sure. Because he did say earlier he got suited for a Captain America suit. Now, that just might be the new look of Falcon. And as a tribute to Captain America, he's got Captain America elements in the new suit. Or it could mean they're going to call him Captain America, which I don't think they should. You know, I've been against that the whole time. Because Falcon is Falcon, and he's cool as Falcon. And Steve Rogers is Captain America. There's no new Steve Rogers, but that's how I feel about that. So him saying that, I don't know if I take it to the bank, BMC. I don't know that I take it to the bank yet because of what they've said before. So I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But I hope that's the way it works out. And I'm very much looking forward to this show. I'm really excited about it. All right, Jeremy Sneed writes, headed to Disneyland September 4th through 7th. Nice. Galaxy's Edge. Have a fast pass, but any other suggestions to maximize fun time? Wife, 4-year-old daughter, and myself. Well, I've never gone to Disneyland with a kid. I've always just go with Anne. Like, we just go and have a good time. So my thing is this. Get there as early as you can. And don't worry about food. Just immediately go directly to the first ride that's first on your priority list. All right? Oh, sorry, let me rephrase that. First, go to the ride that is second on your priority list and get a fast pass or register your fast pass. Then go without a fast pass to the first ride you want to do, because that's when the line's going to be the shortest, and just get in line for it, because that'll be the shortest line, at least the time that'll have its shortest line. Get in line for that ride. Then when you get out of that ride, you can go and do the fast pass for the other ride you do, and then just continuously use fast passes. Get in line for some things, get fast passes for others. Unfortunately, you can only have one fast pass at a time. You can't get 8 fast passes to different rides. But that's my best thing, and leave food till a little bit later. All right, Jared, that's my advice at any rate. It could be the totally wrong way of doing it, but that's how I do it. Jeremy Sneed writes, Disneyland trip, my hotel is walking distance to the park. Looks like an AMC is nearby. Yes, there is. If so, may sneak out and see It Chapter 2 once wife and kids pass out. Yeah, there is. Now, there actually used to be an AMC right in downtown Disney. Now it's just outside of Disney. But again, it used to be really convenient for me because in downtown Disney was an AMC theater. They recently took that out, which I'm bummed out about. But there is still another AMC theater there in a little place called Garden Walk, which is like a 10-minute walk to Disneyland from there. So yes, you'll have the opportunity to sneak out when everybody else is passed out. But believe me, my friend, you may be passed out too. Because Disneyland's no joke, man. You're putting in your miles that day, so you might just conk out yourself. All right. Tom Gillard writes, we may have a lost Spider-Man, but we get Obi-Wan. As Red Skull would say, a soul for a soul. I'll take that deal. And we haven't lost Spider-Man. That's the thing, guys. We're still getting Spider-Man. And again, let me just plant this little bug in everybody's ears. Spectacular Spider-Man, starring Tom Holland, directed by Lord and Miller. I'm just putting that out there in the universe. Think about that. Marinate on that a bit. Tell me that's not something to be excited about. Tell me the idea. Look at the success that Sony and Lord and Miller have had together over the years. But tell me you're not excited about a spectacular Spider-Man starring Tom Holland, directed by Lord and Miller. Tell me that's not something to get excited about. So we still have Spider-Man and we get Obi-Wan. Come on, man. It is a win-win. It's not just a soul for a soul. It's a win-win in my books. All right, Richard Karate writes, with Kevin Conroy playing an older Bruce Wayne in the Arrowverse for a fan service, do you think we could get Linda Carter back as an older Diana Prince in the Arrowverse? Would love to see it. Now, I believe they've already said that's not happening. I believe they have just come out and said, we're not getting Linda Carter in as Diana Prince. I think that was something that was asked and answered a few weeks ago, actually. So as unfortunate as, because I agree, Richard, not even in there as an older Diana. She doesn't have to be an older, she's an Amazonian. She's not really going to age that much. But as an older Diana, no. But just as somebody, as anybody, just having Linda Carter have a special guest spot just in the series. Because remember, she does not age the way regular humans age. So if you've got Kevin Conroy as an older Bruce, then Wonder Woman would still look the same as Wonder Woman looks in just like 30 years. She wouldn't look like she aged a day in 30 years. So you can't do that. But just having her in there would be pretty cool. But it sounds, Richard, like they've already put that to bed and that we're not going to see Linda Carter in there. That's unfortunate. It's not like it was necessary, but it would have been cool, Richard. It absolutely would have been cool. Tom Gillard writes, Clint, give it to me. Oh, that's Endgame. When talking, I believe talking about the gauntlet, right? Give it to me. I think that was the cool line. Instead of I don't care, he says, give it to me. Dino Vader writes, hype for the Mandalorian. Don't you agree? Oh, I am completely hyped for Mandalorian. Right now, it looks better to me than episode 9 does. Then again, we got to get the full first true real trailer for episode 9, which we've not had yet. And I might change my mind at that point, but right now I am so stoked for Mandalorian. It's crazy. Rami J. Royster writes, hey, John, thanks to you and the crew, I've also started a career within the entertainment industry as an actor. That's amazing. Well done. What do you or the others suggest for seeking an agency within Los Angeles? Well, listen, I'm the wrong guy to ask because I am not an actor and I've never gotten a talent agent. As an acting talent agent. But I have heard that getting a half-decent agent is a very difficult thing to do. So I've heard it's very, very, very difficult to get a half-decent agent. So I have no advice to offer because that's completely outside of my realm of reality. However, here's keeping my fingers crossed for you. I hope you're able to land a good one. I know Erin Cummings has told me stories about, one of the biggest hurdles wasn't even getting her first show, was getting her first real agent was one of the hardest things for her to do. So that can be a tough thing, but it's got to happen. So unfortunately, Rami, I'm not the one who can give any decent advice on that, but best of luck to you, sir, because it's an exciting adventure. If you can get in there, if you can take it to that level, it'll be an exciting ride. All right. Tooney2 writes, is Rey holding a red lightsaber really something that can make people excited that are not already fans? I hope the real trailer will be a lot better. Yes. Yeah. I believe the answer is yes. Because of this. I have talked to a number of people already who, because, I've got a lot of friends who love The Last Jedi. I've got a lot of friends who don't like The Last Jedi. And for some of my friends that don't like The Last Jedi, they're still just as stoked as Star Wars fans, period. But I've got some friends of mine who don't like The Last Jedi, and it actually tempered their overall fandom for Star Wars. Like they dislike The Last Jedi so much, it actually, they don't know if they're excited about Star Wars anymore. There are some people like that. I mean, that happens. And some good friends of mine feel that way. But the ones I've talked to a lot in the last 48 hours, even amongst the ones who would say, I don't even know how excited I am about Star Wars anymore because of how much they disliked Last Jedi. They're like, holy crap. So when they saw Rey with the red lightsabers. So will it do that for everybody, TunieTube? No, obviously not. But does it have the power to do that? It does, because I all I can speak is from my personal experience, is that I know people whose overall passion for Star Wars had been tempered since The Last Jedi, and they are freaking out about that image. Now, again, it's just an image. Who knows? And maybe the movie sucks, but it's a pretty exciting thing to see for a lot of people. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people. But remember, that wasn't even a trailer. That was just some random slapped together stuff of a couple of scenes of footage that they could show people at D23. It wasn't even their trailer. I thought they'd show a trailer. They didn't. The trailer's coming in the next few weeks. Patrick Conway writes, David Harbour is playing Russian Cap. Sounds awesome. It'll be interesting to see what they're doing with that character. I didn't get a lot of sense for what that character is really going to be from all the footage they showed us. But it'll be interesting to see which way they're going. All I know is that I like David Harbour, so let's see what they're going to do with him. Rami J. Royster writes, which movie has a more deceptive marketing campaign to children, Bridge to Terabithia or The Book of Henry? I'm going to say Bridge to Terabithia. I don't think, honestly, I don't think The Book of Henry was all that deceptive in its marketing. I could make an argument that there are elements there in the marketing that actually do play out in the film. Whereas Bridge to Terabithia was completely the opposite. Bridge to Terabithia sold you on, come for a fun family adventure where children discover a magical kingdom in the woods. That's what the marketing told us Bridge to Terabithia was. That is not what Bridge to Terabithia is. And I don't feel that there was that big of an extreme thing with Book of Henry, to be honest with you. That's just my take on it. All right. Just a couple minutes left here, guys. K Major writes, do you know how many men would kill to have a woman courteous enough to leave after... K Major, you're the first person to quote a line from my movie, The Anniversary, on the show. Yes, there is... And the outtake of that is hilarious. My friend Manolo Santanos, who is one of the stars of the movie, he's a comedian. He's a Canadian comedian, and he had such a hard time saying that line. It was absolutely hilarious. Anyway, you're reading that line, it's like, who would say that? You'd have to know the context of the scene. But thank you for pointing that you're the first guy ever, K Major, to actually quote a line from my movie in the super chat. So thank you for that. You just put a smile on my face, dude. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, I looked up Kit Harington's Eternals character, and his love interest is named Cersei. That's going to be a bit awkward. Yeah, one of the Eternals is Cersei. I can't remember which one is playing Cersei. I can't remember who's playing Cersei. Anyway, first of all, what I can't believe people aren't hyping up more is that the Stark brothers are in a movie together. You got Richard Madden, and you've got Kit Harington, Robb Stark and Jon Stark, or Jon Snow, whatever you want to call him. I can't believe they're not making a bigger deal saying the Stark boys are back together again. I think that's a missed opportunity. But that's a very good observation, Ryan. I totally agree. All right, James Lockman writes, one of two. Aloha, John, Robert, and Chris. Just missed Robert and Chris. Since joining Regals Unlimited, I've watched Good Boys, Lion King twice, Ready or Not, The Farewell, and Angel Has Fallen, and many more films coming before year's end. This is the future of the movie-going experience, and it's such a great service. And at the heart of it all, of all this is your show. Aw, thank you, James. You, Robert, Aaron, Chris, and your viewers make it so much fun to discuss everything about movies. Aw, man, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, first of all, let's talk about Regal Unlimited for a second. Is Regal Unlimited as good of a deal as AMC's A-List? No, it's not as good of a deal. But too many people focused on that and failed to focus on, as good as A-List or not, it's a great deal. The Regal Unlimited deal is a great deal, particularly if you're somebody like James and me and many of you who like to go to multiple movies per month. It is, in many ways, the future of the movie-going industry. It's a terrific service. It's awesome. I've said for a long time, AMC A-List is the best thing to happen to movie fans in a long time. And now we've got, Cinemark's got their plan. Now we've got Regal with theirs. We know Draft House is introducing theirs as well. It's terrific. It's a fabulous, fabulous service. Now, it doesn't change things for a lot, maybe even the majority of moviegoers, because a lot of people only go to like 6 or 7 movies a year, right? There's a lot of people out there that go to maybe 6 or 7 movies a year, maybe one movie every 2 months. For those people, getting a service like A-List or Regal Unlimited actually doesn't make financial sense because it'll be cheaper just to buy your movie tickets at that point. But hopefully, plans like Regal Unlimited, like A-List, will encourage people to go to the movies even more because they get that sort of membership. And it's a great thing. And James, thank you for the kind words about, we love being a place that we love to talk about the things we love, right? We love the movies and we love talking about movies and we love getting people excited about movies because it's what excites me. And if that can excite the rest of you too, that's great. And we have a terrific community here with all the people in the live chat and our Patreon supporters and all that kind of stuff too, just sharing our love of the movies. There are things that drive us crazy and there are things we don't like, but overall just our love for the movies. And it's great that influences you as well. So thank you for the kind words, James. I appreciate that and enjoy that Regal Unlimited. And James got one more here, and this will be our last one of the day, guys. James Lockman writes, will there be a spoiler discussion on Bobby Meets His Third Mom? LOL. Don't give Disney any financing rights to this. Of course, that's one of the theoretical movies that I make up every once in a while. Bobby Meets His Third Mom. Sometimes I talk about Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone. Sometimes I'll be talking about Ricky's dick hair, or ball hair, whatever I called it before. And Bobby Meets His Third Mom, one of my many theoretical movies that I make up now and again. Now, that will do it today, guys, for the show. We're at 2.5 hours at this point. We got to wrap things up. But listen, for everybody else who's got outstanding questions to come here, Mighty Tank, James, Brandon Blake, and everybody else down, do not worry. I'm going to take my lunch break, do a little bit of work, and then I'm going to do a companion video to this episode. And that companion video that I'm going to put up on my channel here, keep your eyes open for it later this afternoon. That companion video, I'm going to answer all the rest of the questions that you guys sent in. So if you sent in a question, bet your ass it's going to be answered in a video today. So keep your eyes open for that. That's going to be coming in just a little bit. All right, guys, that will wrap it up now for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of a terrific film fan community, giving us great things to talk about, supporting the channel as you do. Just a quick reminder, guys, if you're here and if you enjoy these types of conversations, if you agree with my opinion or Rob's opinion or not, it doesn't matter. If you enjoy these types of conversations, do me a favor, go on over and click the subscribe button, become a subscriber to the YouTube channel. Make sure you click the thumbs up button and make sure you jump down and leave a comment in the comment section, giving us your thoughts on any or all the topics that we talked about here today. That would be amazing. One more time to remind you guys, a companion video is coming a little bit later with all the remaining questions for today. I'm sure there's a lot of great stuff in there for us to talk about still. So come on back and join us for that. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.